Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining. Let me go ahead and check to see that we are, in fact, streaming on the sources we are supposed to be. This is my urge to you, dear listener, to make sure you're following us in the correct places. I can say yes, that is one of the places you need to follow us. That's Facebook. We broadcast through Facebook, but they don't show our feed to people. David, hello, David. Good morning. David is one of our regulars here at the bar. Come on in. We're going to look at the TV and we're going to talk about the stuff that's on. They say you're not supposed to talk about politics in the bar. Ah, phooey. Phooey to that. I'm going to talk about politics in the bar. And yes, I do consider this a bar. I've been a bartender for a lot of my life, Brian the bartender. I would always say that so people could remember me, remember my name. It's so easy to forget names. But when you say something like Brian the bartender, you go, oh, yeah, it's Brian the bartender. Okay. Join our live show right now. All right, that went out on Facebook. We are streaming. Appears as though we are up on Rumble. That's fantastic. And here's my daily test of D Live. Cannot figure out what the problem is. I will say test text from D Live. See if it shows up in the chat. Of course it does. For no apparent reason. All right. Let's get into today's program. Do you crack your knuckles? There's a question of the day. Do you crack your knuckles? I do. All the time. All right. Broadcasting to you live from the Orion spiral arm of the Milky Way galaxy, the solar system, planet Earth, North America, the United States of America, somewhere in between two formerly tariff nations. Hello, everybody. My name is Brian Engelman. Today is Monday, April 21st, 2025, and this is the TNAM AM Show here on the New American Media. Yes, indeed. On today's program, we're going to discuss, will the new Pope be woke? We're going to talk about Klaus Schwab leaving the World Economic Forum. Pete Hegseth has been targeted, and Dems are the deportation defenders. Woo! That's called alliteration, folks. I learned that back in middle school. I don't know when I learned that, actually. But I've always loved using the same letters over and over again. That's called alliteration. Always alliterative. I don't even know if that's a way to say it. But yes, those are the topics of today's program, and that is what we're going to discuss on today's show. As always, if you have stories you would like to share with the group, please type them into the chat. We'll keep the chat on the side over here. Please type hello, type your name and where you're watching from. I love to find out where you are watching from. Your comments make the show very fun, and we can engage in an active, ongoing, multiple-person conversation while we tear through the news. I hope you had a wonderful Easter Sunday. He is risen. That is the story of Christ. Entombed, gone 3 days later. Let's do the flashback here with the Biden administration, what their group was talking to us about Easter. Let's never forget. I'm pretty sure I'm going to show you what Google did to celebrate Easter. Hint, it's what they usually do to celebrate the King of Kings. Lord Jesus Christ. It's what Google usually does. Maybe that's why Google YouTube hates me. Maybe they got a religious bias against me, because they certainly do against Christianity. That's for damn sure. All right, flashback about Biden on Easter Sunday 2024.
Make Trans Visibility Month a proclamation on the day of Easter. I can tell you here, under President Trump's leadership, there will never be a Trans Visibility Month. And on Easter, we will be celebrating one man, and that is Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. He had the audacity to make Trans Visibility Month a proclamation on the day of Easter.
That was Joe Biden, people. The Democrats told on themselves last year. Make Easter great again. Mega. All right. Trans Day of Visibility instead of Easter. Okay. It's a cool story, bro. All right. So this is being reported. This story here. And I really do. I hope you were able to spend some time with family and loved ones yesterday. These gatherings, you know, they're good mile markers for us. We don't know how long we're going to have with our family. You know, at dinner, we had several people missing that used to be there. And it's like, everybody's on borrowed time. So I hope you had a good Easter. And if you didn't, I hope you have a great next whatever's coming up. You know, we got to make time for friends and family and create time for friends and family. And even if we're busy, even if we're tired, even if this or that, like, you just build those moments. And that's what life is. Life is just about a series of moments, really. All right, so this story is being reported. Let me read you how the right-winged Angel is reporting this. A 28-year-old named Ashley Long was killed after a man got out of a Mercedes passenger seat with a gun after the man she was with brushed the car with his hand as it drove by. Is this another touch me and see what happens scenario? But this time it was a car and not a backpack. The reason this is up is because that is the calling cry, the calling card, the clarion cry. What am I trying to say? Clarion call, clarion. You're hearing defenders of Luigi Mangione. You're hearing defenders of the track meet stabber. Hey man, get out of here. This isn't your tent. Hey, touch me and see what finds out, and you'll find out. Dave Chappelle did a skit on that. Do you remember that skit? I've been meaning to make this comparison. I keep forgetting, but it's when keeping it real goes wrong. There's a whole skit about, yeah, man, I'm going to be tough. Yeah, you're not going to disrespect me. Whoop, whoop. And now you're behind bars for the rest of your life when keeping it real goes wrong. Touch me and find out what happens next. I've shared videos over the past week with similar sentiment. There's a message to white people. Touch me and find out. Talk to me and find out. Disrespect me and find out. Get in my way and find out. Is that what we're doing now? That's what we're doing. Because these false equivalencies to George Zimmerman and Kyle Rittenhouse and Daniel Penny, there's just a lot of unfortunate anger, racial anger out there. A lot of anti-white, deep-seated racial anger out there. So in the context of, you know, being fairly close to the track meet stabber event, this story comes out, and that's why they're reporting it this way. Was this a... Hang on, what does it say? Is this another touch me and see what happens scenario? So I think allegedly that's something that Carmelo killer said. Like, touch me and find out. Well, moving a backpack is not a life or death instance. And remember, the father of the dispatched teen went to that farce of a press conference with the attorney for the track meet killer. And they told the father of the slain twin to leave. And guess what? He left without stabbing anybody. It's really that easy. So it's in that context we're discussing this story. They're saying on April 18, police charged Kendrick Finch, 34 years old, and charged him with murder in the shooting. An arrest warrant affidavit for Finch says that Long and the other shooting victim had just left a bar and were walking north across Main Street. Finch was allegedly in a four-door Mercedes traveling west on Main. Surveillance video reviewed by police showed the man who was with Long brushing his hand alongside the passing Mercedes. A passenger in the vehicle, believed to be Finch, got out of the car with a gun in his hand. The man who was with Long then reached into her purse and pulled out a gun. Finch then allegedly opened fire, hitting Long. The other man appeared to return fire, according to the affidavit. Passenger then got back into the Mercedes and drove away from the scene. Long was taken to the hospital, where she was later pronounced dead. The man she was with was also injured. So, yeah, don't know what's going on, but saw this story, and in the context of that other story, the track meet stabbing, we have these stories connected. All right, we're never going to get done with this story. This MS-13 member who's not proven to be MS-13, except that he was, except that he wasn't. The MS-13 member with gang tattoos on his fingers, except they're not gang tattoos. Except they are, except they're not. The guy who was adjudicated multiple times to be deported, except he wasn't. The guy who needs American justice, except he's not an American. The guy who needs a jury trial, except he's not American. The guy who has a right to defend himself against accusations, who has defended himself, but he lost, except he never went to court. This is Schrodinger's story. It's two versions of the same exact story. The optics are really bad for Democrats, even if this deported Kilmar guy, this Maryland man, he's not a Maryland man. He's in, what's it, El Salvadoran, I believe. I'm confusing El Salvadorian and Venezuelan, but Laser the Conservative just wants to point out some of the compare and contrast. Democrats are protesting the mistreatment of illegal criminals from some of the worst gangs in the entire world, but they were totally fine with J6 prisoners held for years without any due process. Some held for 4 years on misdemeanor trespassing charges, and they were tortured and starved in a tiny little closet with a bucket to use and a wrestling mat. They wouldn't even mention Laken Riley's name. They ignore the mother of 5 in Maryland who was brutally killed by one of their precious illegals. They are never on the side of Americans unless they're criminals. Make it make sense. The topic of judiciary misconduct and obstruction, a constitutional crisis. We are just living in the Supreme Court right now. You have a bunch of judges trying to figure out how they can block the Trump agenda. It is that obvious. The numbers are shocking compared to other presidents that other judges don't get involved like this. Now they are, just to get in Trump's way. Or the haters will say it's because Trump's so bad. Clandestine is talking about this here, saying Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito's dissent is wild. Essentially, Alito is calling out the other Supreme Court justices for political weaponization, procedural misconduct, and abusing their positions to obstruct the Trump administration. We have a rogue judiciary obstructing the will of the people. Alito dissenting says district court never certified a class, and this court has never held that class relief may be sought in a habeas proceeding. In some, literally in the middle of the night, the court issued unprecedented and illegally questionable relief without giving the lower courts a chance to rule, without hearing from the opposing party within 8 hours of receiving the application with dubious factual support for its order, and without providing an explanation for its order. I refused to join the court's order because we had no good reason to think that under the circumstances, issuing an order at midnight was necessary or appropriate. So we just have to keep our eyes peeled on what's going on in the court systems, because that is, look, when they were unable to recruit Ron DeSantis to go up against California, Gavin Newsom. Remember when Fox News gave us the Gavin Newsom, Ron DeSantis debate that nobody asked for? Frickin' Fox. Ugh. Remember all that. When running DeSantis up against Trump didn't work, when lawfare to throw President Trump in jail forever, to Epstein him, of course they were going to do that. When that didn't work, when Butler, Pennsylvania, in the golf course attempt, with very suspicious Ukrainian connections, might I remind you. Now they're trying to have the judges get in the way and block the agenda. Remember when the two fake impeachment attempts? Oh, yeah, we're going to impeach Robble. You mean the twice impeached felon? Yeah, the victim of your lawfare, that guy. You could just call him the victim of your lawfare. When none of that worked, of course you knew they were going to get the judges involved. Speaking of judges, what is this one? A Democrat, according to the Real State of America, a Democrat judge in New Mexico resigned from his bench last month after immigration agents arrested an alleged Tren de Aragua gang member living in his home. The illegal alien entered the U.S. in Eagle Pass, Texas, before being released on an immigration parole due to overcrowding. He eventually moved to New Mexico. Federal prosecutors in the District of New Mexico allege that the 23-year-old Christian Ortega Lopez was illegally in possession of a firearm and has ties to the hyper-violent Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua. Earlier this year, President Trump and the U.S. State Department declared the gang to be a foreign terrorist organization. Police arrested Ortega Lopez while executing a search warrant on Feb 28 at the home of Donna Ana County, New Mexico magistrate Judge Joel Cano and his wife Nancy, the Albuquerque Journal reported this week. The report follows a detention hearing where prosecutors claim the illegal alien is a flight risk and an alleged Tren de Aragua gang member. Harboring a fugitive. Very interesting. What in hell is going on where a judge is palling around with gang members? What can we do to rid the bench of anti-American judges who are really just activists masquerading as fair arbiters of balance and judicial review? I was shocked to find out how many of these judges don't have actual experience working as judges. They get installed by who and for what? It's shocking. So let's see what happens in that case. Here you go. This is our reminder to tell you, search from now on, search with Grok. Don't search on YouTube, or I'm sorry, on Google. Don't use Google. Here, let me just full screen it. Yeah, that's easy. Google did nothing for Easter, once again. And by the way, Easter eggs is the double O's. That's the easiest thing you could do every single year. You don't need to overthink this. The L in Google could be a cross. I don't know. But here you go. For Kwanzaa, they get all sorts of things. For Pride Month, they get all sorts of things. Ramadan, here, have some things. Everybody gets some things. For Christ, Christianity, Easter, Christians, go away. Google does not like you. Google does not appreciate you. Google does not want you using Gmail. Google does not want you on YouTube. Google does not want you searching on their site. Google wants you to leave them alone. They don't like you. They don't like the new American media. They never have. Just be aware of where you're spending your time and your dollars. Here's Byron Donalds, once again, talking about this deported illegal alien, except he was in the country legally, except he wasn't. He shouldn't have been deported. He was twice adjudicated to be removed. No, it was based on information that wasn't proven. No, it was totally proven. He was a gang member. No, he wasn't. Okay. They want to bog down President Trump, MAGA, America. They want 30 million court cases from regarding non-citizens who broke into America. They want these non-citizens to have American rights as a gift, as a reward for breaking into America, for participating in human trafficking, human smuggling, the deep state Democrat plan. And Byron Donalds just kind of putting he's got some thoughts on this.
Could that be a Logan Act violation? Because
regarding Chris Van Hollen, the Democrat from Maryland, going down to meet with this alleged MS-13 terrorist, are there Logan Act violations where you're negotiating on the behalf of the federal government when you don't have the jurisdiction to do so?
Because he in no way, shape, or form, even though he's in the U.S. government, he did not have the approval of the U.S. government to go down there and negotiate the release of a prisoner.
And so if you don't have the approval to do that, you're subverting the will of the President of the United States. That is a bad idea.
It's very possible, but at something that's even bigger than that is he looks like an utter fool. Because now the information's coming out about this guy. Obviously, yes, he was in the country illegal. His wife was saying he was an abusive person. He was hanging out with MS-13 gang members when he got picked up. And he's down in El Salvador trying to negotiate a release. This is the buffoonery of the Democratic left. It's the reason they were boat raced last November. It's the reason they will continue to lose. How about a U.S. senator actually stand up for the American people, the rule of law, actually securing our borders and sending people home who do not belong in our country? I wish he would spend his time doing that.
Because these people are not citizens. Well, their defenders will say, no, he was here as part of a legal program. You say that wasn't a legal program. That was an invasion from the Democrats, and we're putting an end to that. You want to assimilate. You want to be productive. You want to stay out of jail. You want to learn the language. You want to defend our Bill of Rights, our Second Amendment, our First Amendment, our 10th Amendment, our Fourth Amendment. You want to take a civics test? You want to be here for 25 years without committing crimes, and then we'll build a path. That's your path to citizenship. If you very slowly, you're paying into the system instead of taking benefits, you're barred from benefits. It's not a giveaway. You're not just here to collect the free Easter eggs. Yeah, I think there's room in America for some of the best and brightest who go through a full health screening, a full criminal background screening. And we bring in people with talent who want to become American. Absolutely. You don't open up the floodgates and let 30 million invade and then tie it up in courts to the point where Biden wins. Biden forever changes the demographics of America, dumping in tens of millions of non-Americans into America to forever change our voting, our demographics, our country.
As opposed to going down to El Salvador to prove to all Americans that he's a fool.
Absolutely. Congressman Byron Donalds, great to see you. Thanks for being with us. We appreciate it. But
the complaints remain. Has the U.S. adequately proven that this guy is who he says he was? Was he deported properly? Did he get the full trial that he should have had? Is everyone supposed to get this full trial? How can you do the job if you can't do the job? And that's part of the plan. Cloward and Piven strategy. You overwhelm the system. You overwhelm the system to the point where you can't compete against it. You bankrupt the U.S. by flooding the benefits packages with people who are not qualified to receive them. You bankrupt America, and when it collapses, you rebuild it in your Marxist, communist, Leninist, socialist, utopian hellhole. That's what happens. That's the Cloward and Piven strategy. Breitbart is reporting left-wing Arizona Democrat Governor Katie Hobbs has vetoed a bill that was passed by the state legislature that would require local and state law enforcement to cooperate with federal immigration officials. The Republican-led legislature passed a bill that outlawed local jurisdictions from passing ordinances that would prevent local police from working with federal immigration authorities or block federal immigration actions and funding, according to the AP. The bill would have also required locals to cooperate on immigration detainers and to inform federal officials about migrants being held in custody or about to be released from jails and prisons. Yeah, that's all common sense. Supporters of the bill said the measure was needed to help the federal government have a safer and more orderly system of taking foreign criminals into custody for deportation and for state officials to be a partner instead of an obstacle to federal immigration policies. Oh, but Katie Hobbs, please, can we get your day in court? Can we please get the indictments on you already? Katie Hobbs insisted in her veto statement that it was wrong to force state and local officials to take marching orders from Washington. You know, Washington, who runs immigration. Oh, you don't want marching orders from Washington, says the deep state Democrat who wants everything to be a top-down solution from Washington. Interesting. The bill would have also required state jails and prisons to enter into agreements with the federal government to temporarily house detainees who are awaiting deportation. Further, the bill would require the state to withhold funds from jurisdictions that violate the new law. Hobbs' veto runs contrary to polls showing that voters are increasingly leaning toward stricter immigration policies. They're saying Cartel Katie strikes again. Reminder, this woman was in charge of overseeing her own election against Kari Lake. She's being called a cartel asset. Veto her. What are we going to do about Katie Hobbs and New Mexico? Hey, if you missed this one, when are we going to bankrupt the Democrat Party for causing all of the treasonous acts that they've perpetrated? It's time to it's time to bankrupt the Democrat Party. Stephen Miller, he has thoughts about abused Americans and where is our compensation?
Functioning public school system in this country. Then we had open borders. Now our schools are in chaos and disarray. We need hundreds of translators. Nobody's learning how to read or write. An entire generation of Americans, multiple generations, in fact, have been robbed of educational opportunities. Entire cities. Look at Los Angeles. Once occupied and controlled by foreign gangs, where do all the residents who've been displaced, who've been forced out of Los Angeles, where do they go to get their reparations? And then what about the victims of fentanyl poisoning brought in by Democrats' open border? Hundreds of thousands of moms and dads whose kids are dead and buried in the ground. Where do they go to get their reparations from the government? And then all the women who have been raped, who've been beaten, who've been murdered, all the dads who've been shot dead and aren't home, all the police officers who've been slain by illegal aliens in ambush attacks in the line of duty. Where do any of these people go? Where do any of their families go to get reparations? Or the 500,000 children that Joe Biden trafficked across the southern border and put into the hands of unvetted so-called sponsors? Do you know how many stories I could tell you of children that were trafficked across the border and raped because of the policies of Joe Biden? There aren't enough volumes that could fit into a library to calculate the carnage that has been inflicted by the Democrat Party's policy of open borders. We can spend the rest of our lives trying to document those harms. Where does our whole country go to get repaid for all of the wealth, all of the prosperity and security that has been stolen from us by decades of uncontrolled illegal mass migration? Because we all deserve reparations for what
I love the police siren in the background, by the way. What a nice touch.
has been stolen from us. It is a
Although you could easily add that in post-production.
tragedy that defies our ability to even describe it.
Preach, brother. I love it.
He's not going to be president. He is not, Donald Trump is not going to be president of the United States. Take it to the bank. Okay. I guarantee it.
All right, all right.
I think if he becomes the president, he'll make it great because the states is already great.
I think that man will be president of the United States right about the time that spaceships come down filled with dinosaurs and red capes.
On that note, Tom,
Take it from me. How about that?
Cheers, Tom.
Take it from me. How about that? What do you want us to take from you? Your freedom? Are you going to get wrapped up in all of these allegations, Mr. Tom Hanks? I don't know.
And then, of course, there's Donald Trump. Donald Trump has been saying that he will run for president as a Republican, which is surprising since I just assumed he was running as a joke.
They say this is the moment. Trump decided, went all in.
Donald Trump, just last week, he confirmed to the National Review that he is again considering a run in 2016.
Do it. Do it. Look at me.
We have a functioning public school system in this country. Then we had open borders. Now our schools are in chaos and disarray. We need hundreds of translators.
Okay, yeah, and we did have the end of that. We said it's time to bankrupt the deep state Democrat Party for their treasonous acts. Democrats ruin almost everything they touch. Enough is enough. Yeah, that's where you get your reparations. Bankrupt the Democrat Party because they're doing this intentional, pretending it's a crisis. No, it's the Obama doctrine. It's exactly what they've intended to do. This isn't a bug. This is a feature. This is exactly what they want to do. I know, David, you're absolutely right. How much longer do we have to wait to see arrests? Things have gone past the point of no return. I know. I lose faith daily in Miss Pam. Send me an email telling me 5 things you actually did last week, Bondi. Where are the damned indictments on the top 100 perpetrators who have been ruining humanity? You know who the top 100 are. Give me 100 of the top 500. Let's just get started already. Or else we're toast, and I'll see you in a concentration camp. I mean, if the America destroyers get their way, we're toast. We're all toast. And that's why I've had such a... That's why I've felt compelled to keep doing what I'm doing as much as I'm doing it. This is the only chance I've had in my lifetime to push back against this nonsense. So I feel like we need to go full speed. Joey Manarino, he's saying the same thing. He says there's about 600 days left in the current Congress. We have a majority in the House and the Senate. We might not after the midterms. And that is terrifying. What does that even mean? Why would anyone vote Democrat anywhere? They ruin everything they touch. They leave sorrow in their wake. But he's saying that we might not have the majority in the House and Senate after the midterms. So what exactly are these guys waiting for in codifying the Trump agenda? Full speed ahead on MAGA. Time is now. That's my comment. All right, so the SCOTUS showdown here, Gateway Pundit kind of recapping in a blistering dissent. Supreme Court Justice Alito joined Justice Clarence Thomas, calling out the reckless and legally dubious move by the court's liberal majority to block President Donald Trump's lawful efforts to deport dangerous foreign nationals under the Alien Enemies Act. Yeah, and they're saying Alito and Clarence Thomas are the only 2 truly upright justices in the Supreme Court. Very concerning. Well, the Russia hoax lie, you know, this is what the Democrats spend their time on. They don't spend time on securing our border, getting foreign companies and to invest into America, creating jobs and middle-class wealth and upper middle-class wealth. And they don't care. They care about power and control. So this whole Russia hoax lie with Hillary Clinton, the Democrat convention, the Democrat committee, Perkins Coie, the Steele dossier, all of this stuff, this Russia hoax. Hillary's on that list of top 50. She's on the list of the top 25. You have got to indict these people for the treasonous criminal actions they've taken. Or else we're doomed.
Hillary Clinton has been directly connected to the Russia hoax. Hillary's former campaign manager, a guy named Robbie Mook, a typical Clinton crony name if you've ever heard one.
Okay, I didn't know he was going to say that, but yes, Mook. Perfect.
Was testifying under oath, and Durham got him to spill his guts. The Mook admitted that Hillary Clinton personally approved pushing a fake story about Trump and the Russians. The story was about Trump and a Russian bank, and the story was made up. And the people on Clinton's side knew it was made up because they're the ones who made it up.
It's really that simple. By the way, Mook is a slang derogatory term to describe a foolish, insignificant, or contemptible person, incompetent or unimportant. That guy's just a mook. Don't worry about him. It was in Mean Streets in '73, Martin Scorsese film. The word likely derives from Italian-American slang for mooch, or from Yiddish, like muck, meaning a fool. A mook. Or in gaming context, a weak generic enemy character designed to be easily defeated, like cannon fodder in a video game. All right.
Mook was shaky on the stand today. He testified that the Clinton campaign wasn't totally confident the story was real, because it wasn't, but they wanted the media to write about it anyway. Mook asked Hillary if she wanted him to plant the story with a reporter. Hillary said yes. And then when it hit the internet, she retweeted it, spreading the Russia hoax like wildfire. By the way, that tweet right there, blatant disinformation. It's still up on Twitter. But if you tweet that there's only two genders, that gets wiped out. And while all this was happening, Hillary was paying her lawyer, Michael Sussman, to trick the FBI into opening an investigation into Trump based off the same bogus claims. Has there ever been a dirtier politician than Hillary Clinton? And if I were Robbie Mook and I just ratted out Hillary on the stand, I'd hire a food tester.
Yeah.
Hillary Clinton has been directly connected to the Russia hoax.
By the way,
Hillary's former campaign manager.
By the way, there are now reports that illegal alien that was sent back to El Salvador, the one the Democrats are absolutely in love with, who they will tell you is not an illegal alien. He's a stand-up young man with a restraining order for beating on a lady. There are now reports that say that person who was deported was around the same exact area where Seth Rich was dispatched. Talking about Robbie Mook ought to hire a food tester. Seth Rich exposed that Hillary Clinton and the DNC rigged their primaries to install in a coup Hillary Clinton over Bernie Sanders, who had the popularity of the people. Remember when they staged a coup to overthrow Biden and put Kamala Harris in? Hey, remember 2020? So now we're putting this specific illegal alien into the exact proximity. I mean, very close. Half hour away. Because it's been well known that for wet work, that the deep state will use illegal aliens as their brown shirts to dispatch people that are becoming too much of a problem. That's why we've reported on Seth Rich's story so much over the years, which is why it's one of the 10 stories that Google, YouTube hated the new American media discussing. And we started discussing it because the other channels weren't. If you go back 14 years of the new American media, 14 years, we've been putting stories together that are underreported. And if you'd stuck with us, you'd be very keyed into a lot of these stories that, oh, now we're finding this thing out. No, we're not just finding anything out. We've had all this information for a long time. Get it straight. So yeah, food tester, not a bad idea. That Clinton body count is real. No, I didn't say Israel. I said is real. And when I say Clinton body count, I'm not talking about Bill down on Epstein Island. I'm talking about the suspicious offings. Oh, somebody connected with the Clintons had a tragic accident, did they? Oh, did they? Where's my shocked face? Where is my shocked face? To the comments, David Ban says, well, I think SCOTUS judges doing what they did could possibly be the last step to pass the threshold. When you say passing the threshold, David Ban, how do you mean? Passing the threshold to expose the corruption, to get some of these people impeached from their Supreme Court positions? Patty K. Hello, Patty K. How are you? Saying there are a lot of great things happening. You're right. 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 This is a non-black pill channel. I refuse to waste my energy saying that the shit we're doing isn't gonna matter to anyone. I wouldn't be doing it if I believed that our actions, our work, our efforts, our energy, our intentions, our drive, our hopes, our dreams, our wishes, our energy, our power. If I thought we were helpless and hopeless in Greenland, if I thought we were helpless and hopeless, I wouldn't do a show. I just put my head down, get the hell out of here. Just keep quiet so I'm not next. The secret is we're all next. If we don't recalibrate who's calling the shots and the power that they have, we're goners. We're freaking toast. So yes, Patty K, thank you. Sorry if I'm kind of like leading into the negative. Let me go back to the positive. There are a lot of great things happening. People like to hear confirmation of the light side of this incredible crumbling of all systems. But it's like David and I are saying, Patty, where are the indictments? Oh my God, for like 8 years, this Q thing is like, hey, relax, guy. Relax, buddy. I ain't your buddy, pal. I ain't your pal, friend. I ain't your friend, buddy. Relax. Trust the plan. There's a plan. Trust the plan. Tick tock, MFer. Tick tock. Not you, Patty. I just mean like tick tock. Where? What? 8 years later, what? Where are the indictments of Clinton, Barack Hussein Obama? Where are the charges against Fauci, against Biden? Where are they? It's hard to stay positive when you're like, they're getting away. They're getting away with it again. They cannot get away with it again. It was sort of like that scene in Breaking Bad where the kid's talking about the boss. He's like, he can't keep getting away with it. He keeps getting away with it. Why does he keep getting away with it? So yes, there are plenty of great things that are happening. I agree 100%. I do. And it is entertaining to say the least. All right, that's true. Bella's Chance. Hello, Bella's Chance. Checking in from the Cape. Oh, Patty K, where are you watching from? I like to kind of know that David's up in Ontario. I like to know that Bella's over in the Cape. And just, I like to know where my regulars are from. Belly up to the bar. Come on up. I'll pour you a beverage. I'm having coffee. Bella's Chance says, my hope for justice through Attorney General Bondi is gone. My trust is gone. Only curiosity remains. Bongino is begging us to take a breath, catch our breath. Just hang on a second. We are working on all of these things. Just, we got a lot of bad actors and apples and judges and moles inside of the CIA, the Justice Department, the judiciary, in academia, inside of USA. They are moles. There are plants. There are traitors everywhere. Bongino is begging us to just take a breath, catch your breath, take it easy. You'll be fine. Just let it be. You're good. You're good. You're good. I don't feel good. I feel like I'm kind of getting frustrated. Patty K saying she needs to be the first, she being Hillary Clinton, I believe you mean? Just a quick reminder when you type your comments, try to think like I will be completely disembodied from the conversation you're having. So when you speak in full sentences, I will not misconstrue your comment. But I believe when you say she needs to be the first, you're talking about Hillary, of course. You love the dot connecting. Is that, you mean the dot connecting that I'm doing? Or the dot connecting that Jesse Waters is doing in this segment? Or all of it? What are you referencing exactly? David clarifying the threshold of total military control. Now we're back to trust the plan. Remember, it was a big sting operation. We caught them all. Did you? Because if you catch a fish, you usually don't throw them back. If the goal is to stop the invasive species from demolishing everything in your pond. You got some snapper turtles, you got some, I don't know, some mollusks or whatever, like whatever you have going on. If it's invasive and it's toxic, when you catch it, you pull it out of the system. No, says the plan people. No. See, there's going to be total military control. Only the military can take care of this. There's going to be legit treason charges. Will there? Because I wouldn't have let 30 million illegal aliens sneak into America over the past 4 years because reasons. You know, a plan. You know what? I'll get around to it in a little bit, but just don't rock the boat. We got it. We got it. I've heard it described as one of the biggest, most unhelpful psyops. The whole Q thing. Oh, yeah, we're going after the deep state. We totally caught them this time. We got them all busted. Do ya? Because it looks like you're letting them get away. They're running down the road. They're going right down there. Somebody go catch them. So, yeah, I walk a fine line between black pill, just being like, nothing's ever going to change. I'm so over it. Nothing's going to change. And like, yeah, we got him on the ropes. Let's go. Full speed ahead. Full throttle. Go that direction as fast as humanly possible. All right, Patty K, what's up? From Washington State, Patty K. I'll try to remember. I'm not perfect at this, but I tried. Patty K, Washington State. All right, awesome. David Ban asking, or kind of commenting, I really don't know if the Department of Justice is in control. And that SCOTUS could be the line in the sand. It is the top of the judicial system. But we don't know. I think there's some compromised people. I think John Roberts is obviously compromised. I think Amy Coney Barrett is obviously compromised. And you got a bunch of activists that the Democrats put in that will always vote for the wrong thing always. Not shocking, but in that system, how could we expect much of anything to be any different?
Hello.
Here's a brave 17-year-old schoolgirl now, moving along, telling her California school board about her awful experience trying to participate in the schooling system. Oh, I would not let my kid deal with this, and you should not allow your kid to deal with this ever.
Hello, my name is Celeste Deist. I am 17 years old, a junior and track athlete at AGHS. Most importantly, I am a woman advocating for the renewal of female rights, which recently has been overlooked and disregarded. I implore all of you to help put an end to this current injustice. Recently, I went into the women's locker room to change for track practice, where I saw at the end of my row a biological male watching not only myself, but the other young women undress. This experience was beyond traumatizing. I must add, he is not changing in our locker room.
Hear her cry, hear her story. California is failing our daughters. Girls deserve better. This is why we fight.
Because he's in his track clothes, dressed and ready to go to practice at the beginning of the day. Therefore, there's absolutely no reason for him to be in any locker room, let alone the women's. Adults like yourself made me and my peers feel like our own comfort was invalid, even though our privacy was and still is being completely violated. The individual who identifies as female has XY chromosomes. Biologically, this makes him a male. Because females have XX chromosomes. This is basic biology.
Okay, please wrap it up.
Yeah.
Okay, please wrap it up. Piss off.
I just want to ask, what about us? We cannot sit around and allow our rights to be given up to cater to an individual that is a man, who watches women undress and is stripping away female opportunity that once was fought for us. Sadly, we have to try and regain our rights again. I hope you put effort into the restoration of our school safety. Thank you for serving our community. Hello, my name is...
Man, we're living inside of a cuckoo clock, people. Senator Van Hollen pleads, stop talking about Abrega Garcia's crime links. Oh, really? We Are Breitbart reports that President Donald Trump's deputies should stop talking about the apparent criminal record of the deported Salvadorian illegal alien, says Democrat Senator Chris Van Hollen. He called him an illegal migrant. Don't put everything out on social media about deported migrant Kilmar Abrega Garcia, Van Hollen told ABC's This Week show on April 20. The issue should be decided by judges, he said, adding the Trump administration is trying to change the Democrats' narrative. They're trying to distract attention. Here's where they should put their facts. They should put it before the court. They should put it up or shut up in court under Judge Zenas, who's the district court judge in this case. Zenas was nominated to the court in 2015 by Obama. Thanks, Obama. She has authority in any courtroom dispute over legal rights, but not in public debates about the harm of illegal migration. Quote, they're trying to litigate on social media what they should be doing in the courts, Van Hollen complained to CNN. Now, look, it's in the wrong aspect ratio. A lot of smart people that I know and respect, they are saying that this case should just get bounced back. And if you actually have the evidence, bring the evidence, have a quick court case, and move it along. Get it off of the fucking headlines already. Stop giving them a talking point. Now, on the flip side, this talking point is fantastic for Republicans. Whether it's true or false, whether it's accurate or not, whether Van Hollen is accidentally lobbying for the civil liberties and civil rights of Americans. He's accidentally doing something that Democrat Party does not do. They do not care about us. Look at COVID. Look at the border in general. You don't allow 30 million illegal invaders to come in and start pillaging like a group of pirates. Oh, they're not all like that. You know, Americans commit more crimes per capita than an illegal alien. No, because 0% of those Biden migrant crimes would have happened if you simply checked the criminal background of the people coming in. And if you're a dirtbag, deuces, go back to wherever you came from. You're not welcome here. We don't want you ruining an American life. Thank you very much. But should this case be adjudicated? I have my friends like, well, this could happen to you. Couldn't Biden do this to you? Couldn't you be rounded up? Yeah, that's what we were screaming about with the FEMA camps under Barack Obama. That's what we were screaming when we were getting fired from our jobs for not taking what Biden told us we had to stick inside of ourselves, like he's Harvey Weinstein. Hey, put this inside of you, kid, or else you can't work in this town. Bunch of creeps. Equivalent of Biden in the shower saying, hey, come here. I'm going to soap you up and give you this injection. I don't know why my Biden kind of sounds like Fauci. The Fauci ouchie. But I will say this about that. I want this court case off of the front page of the news every single day. Bring his ass back. Give him the extra court case you need. Something. Clear it off the docket. I don't want to talk about it anymore because it seems like we, MAGA, we, common sense, we, normal people, it seems like this case doesn't quite have all the facts that we think that it does. We don't give a damn about illegal alien invaders. Violent criminal illegal alien invaders. If he is beating his wife, prove it in court, kick his ass out for being a violent dirtbag. Go back and be violent elsewhere. You're not welcome here. Prove it. Well, they did prove it. No, they're saying that they didn't. Well, he has tattoos. The tattoos don't say MS-13. They're coded. No, they're not. They're just tattoos. That's so stupid. I think the President Trump's administration has a mole in it, and they're feeding the dumbest ideas to Trump, and he's just embarrassing himself out there. And you're like, yeah, normal people get face tattoos and skull tattoos on their fingers. Yeah. Most of us are picked up with a group of MS-13 members at Home Depot. Most of us are get restraining orders after beating our wives. Most of us, bullshit. None of that's true. But what we're hearing is that the United States hasn't quite proven their case. And that's all we're asking for is some due process. Well, illegal aliens don't deserve due process. They ain't from here. What is it? Don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split you. Adios, muchachos. That's a bad hombre right there. Oh, is he a bad hombre? Nobody's ever proven it. Well, there's mountains of hearsay and conjecture. Those are kinds of evidence, says Lionel Hutz, attorney at law, voiced by the great Phil Hartman on The Simpsons. Of course, not a very good lawyer because hearsay and conjecture are not valid types of evidence. Those are types of evidence. Yeah, they're types of inadmissible evidence. So for the love of God, my stance, whatever needs to be done to double prove this guy belongs where he's at, can we please just do this? Stop giving the Democrats something to have as a talking point to hold over our heads and say Trump is being willy-nilly with our civil liberties. He's going to deport us next. He's going to come after us next. Just take the energy out of that. Take the wind out of those sails. Take the gasoline out of the gas tank. Get the lighter fluid out of the light. Whatever analogy you need. Take it away as a talking point. If he is actually who you say he is, then can we please prove it in a way that is unimpeachable, impeccable, perfection legally? Because it sure seems like even the Trump administration has kind of admitted that this was a mistake or that they didn't really fully this, that, and the other, and he is probably a bad guy, but maybe they didn't prove. Then can we just please prove it? And they're saying he's an illegal. You can just deport him because he's an illegal. That's all you need to do. It's like, well, wasn't he a part of a program that was a legal program? And he's got multiple kids and a wife and a family. And then you're like, well, if he's staying out of trouble, I mean, what's the harm? I don't think multiple restraining orders is staying out of trouble. Anyway, I'm just absolutely sick of Schrodinger's deportee. Schrodinger's cat, of course, was the experiment where the cat was both alive and not alive at the same exact moment in time, but it only became one or the other, a binary choice once you were able to observe what the result was. That's how you determine it. But it's Schrodinger's up until. It's yes and no. It's this and that. It's white and black. It's both things at once. I just want this story gone. I am so sick of trying to defend it because every time I try to defend it with stuff that people are giving us all of their certainty and great talking points. And look, like I said, these talking points are killer for the Democrats. What do they? I mean, they envision themselves as Martin Luther King walking down like civil liberties. We're the party of civil liberty. No, you're not. You are restricting our access to work, to travel, to shop, to live our entire lives, unless we took this thing that you forced inside of my body, thought it was my body, my choice, while simultaneously opening the floodgates for 30 million people to sneak in, completely unvetted medically. That's the Democrat Party. You know, it was Trump that pushed for Operation Warp Speed. Yeah. He said, hey, medical professionals, what is the best, fastest option you have? All right. Then let's put it together and roll it out immediately so we can open the world back up. If anyone wants to take this thing that the medical industry says is the best thing since sliced bread, have at it. President Trump's like, I like hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin. Not a big fan of the jab. Not a big fan. He didn't force it upon you like Biden did. Force. Compulsion. That's the difference. So forgive me on the crocodile tears of Senator Van Hollen playing smoochy face with illegal aliens. They weren't illegal aliens. They were totally legal. I can't with this story anymore. So just figure it out. Trump administration, figure it out, please. Please figure it out. Patty K from Washington says, yes, yours. Oh, okay, talking about my opinions there. You said about love the dot. How did you say that? Something about the dot connecting? I love the dot connect. Okay, there you go. I love the dot connecting. Yes. All the connecting of dots available. Mine and all of them. It seems that the plan is in delay or something. It's incredibly wrong in the plan. I think they lack access to their normal money flow or something. Bella saying, my response to Bongino's in entreaty would be, where's the mass dismissal of the FBI's bad seeds? Yeah, there have been some, but not nearly enough. But remember, they were also working at the behest of management that was telling them do all these things. And they're like, now I know that wasn't an excuse in the Nuremberg Code, the Nuremberg laws, the Nuremberg trials. I was just following orders. You sure about that? Does it even matter? I would actually like to know how many people have been dismissed from the FBI, from all these alphabet agencies. David saying, why would you bring him back? He's not from the United States. Excellent point. I agree completely. But if he was a part of a legal United States immigration, temporary with potential for full-time admission plan, then he does get some sort of legal benefits that are affiliated with that. And no, nobody wants to point to David Bann or Bella's Chance or anybody, Patty K, especially me, Brian E. Nobody wants to point at us and say, bad guy, bad girl, go, get him out of here. You're off to Guantanamo Bay. I mean, I really did think Obama was getting close to doing that with the FEMA camps. And when I say that I think he was getting close to doing that, all the writing was on the wall that this turnkey totalitarian system could be flipped on like a light switch at any moment. At the same time, where Barack Hussein Obama, Joe Biden, and all of the deep state were actively targeting the good people of America because we were posing a threat. We were a thorn in their side. I know, and that's the thing. Well, you might bring him back because he shouldn't have been deported in the first place without having the actual adjudication, without having the actual court case. They're like, no, he was in court twice. Yeah, but he was alleged to be something, and the case never went to trial. It was never proven. Someone pointed a finger at him and said, that's a bad guy. He's MS-13. Get him out of here. They're like, okay, let's get him out. It's like, hold on. Someone could point at MAGA members. Remember January 6th? All the peaceful people that got wrapped up in all that mess? Oh, he's probably a bad guy. Great. Guantanamo for him. I mean, that would be happening if Kamala would be in, right? Maybe. Don't give them the ammunition. If he really is the dirtbag that everyone seems to think he is, Bring him back and prove it. Hold a special court case in El Salvador without bringing him back. Say, by the way, to everybody who's given us grief and will not stop talking about this, here's all the proof it's done. Here's a third court order. What is it, ex parte? Doesn't that mean like without the person? See, I'm ready to look ex parte up, but I'm not going to do it on Google. I'm typing x.com. And by the way, I'm sorry, what? Department of Homeland Security Chief Kristi Noem was robbed by a masked man in a D.C. restaurant? I'm sorry, what? This story just coming out? Man, I did want to look up ex parte to figure out what the meaning of that was. On behalf of one party only, or from one side, referring to actions, communications, or proceedings in a legal case where only one party is present or involved, without notice to or participation from the opposing party. Okay. Yeah, I was using that properly. Urgent situations, temporary restraining orders, when immediate action is needed before the other side can respond. So yeah, hold a trial on his behalf, prove him everything that you thought. And just prove it another time and move on. Take all the wind out of their sails. I'm sick of hearing about it. I got to tell you about this. I didn't see this story doing my show prep at all. Let's talk about it real quick. In an appalling security breach, according to Gateway Pundit, by the way, if you go back to our Republican coverage in Milwaukee, I interviewed Gateway Pundit founder Jim Hoft. It's on Rumble and YouTube. In appalling security breach, DHS Secretary Kristi Noem robbed by a masked man in D.C. restaurant. She has Secret Service protection, but a masked man was able to snatch her purse while she dined at a restaurant on Sunday night. They took off with Noem's purse, including $3,000 in cash, her passport, DHS badge, and other valuables. Secret Service is investigating. That's a failure. Security camera footage at the restaurant saw an unknown white male wearing a medical mask steal her bag and leave the restaurant. Got away with her driver's license, medication, apartment keys, passport, DHS access badge, makeup bag, blank checks, and about $3,000 in cash. What? Okay. Did not have that on my bingo card for today. But I just found out about it, and now you know about it. Let's continue to go through the stories. Stephen Miller is phrasing the situation this way. What Bella's Chance saying the Dems don't really care about air quote Maryland man. Yeah, he's a talking point for them. Absolutely. They don't give a shit. They don't care about your civil liberties. All they do is obstruct Republicans from doing Republican things. Oh, you mean violating our civil rights? No, I mean getting rid of illegal alien violent criminals. Yes, that part. You mean unproven? Oh my God, just prove it a third time. I don't care. I don't want to talk about it. But yeah, the Democrat, if you're ever going to rely on Democrats to protect your civil liberties, you're in deep shit. Yeah, well, you maggots. Like, what do you mean a maggot? Oh, like a maggot. Maggots. You're so funny. You maggots are cheering on totalitarianism and fascism. Don't you know his best friend Elon did the salute? He's a Nazi. Sure. So please, let's just take the ammunition away from him is what I'm getting at. Because I hate this story. I cannot get an accurate understanding of this story. Stephen Miller says an MS-13 terrorist, illegal alien from El Salvador, who was merely returned to his own country, as the law requires, has received more due process than was made available to virtually any innocent American citizen persecuted by their government during the Biden administration. Say this a little louder for the people in, oh geez, people. I can't spell people right. What is going on here? People in the back. Yeah, our government's been attacking normal American citizens for a long time now.
I said,
let's check in with the U.S. Border Patrol agents. What's going on?
there was going to be some sort of incident in Mexico that's going to make the U.S. act directly on the ground at some point. I said that 5 years ago.
You mean like Operation Northwoods? Wasn't that the one where they're trying to blow up the plane and blame it on Cuba?
And here we are with open warnings for the Border Patrol that certain cartel elements are planning on using drones to drop bomblets on them.
What's going on there?
I don't know. That doesn't seem like something that would happen. That cartels are going to say,
That would be
announce
an act of
it.
war now, right?
I think that would be an excuse for the United States to do what it wants to do anyway.
Which is?
Have control over the future of Mexico as a country and its potential.
Through a potential invasion type scenario?
Yeah.
You think that's
a
possibility?
The cartels, these are not friendly neighbors living in the house next to us. It's the Gaza Strip. You're out trying to enjoy yourself at a festival and you're butchered. Oh my God, I saw something. Maybe it's in the stack. At a concert, I believe it was at Coachella, what they put on stage. I'll get to that. Let's stay focused here.
We are in a country that had 2 buildings knocked down by a bunch of Saudis and some Egyptian people.
No, 3 buildings by 2 planes. The math doesn't math there. Almost like the story's a little off.
Mm-hmm.
And then we proceeded to attack Afghanistan and Iraq.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it's in the realm of reason that...
This is regarding credible reports indicating that Mexican drug cartels have authorized attacks on U.S. Border Patrol agents and military personnel using drones equipped with explosives. This is an internal memo from the El Paso Sector Intelligence and Operations Center dated Feb 1, 2025. By the way, Operation Northwoods was staging attacks on U.S. military installations such as Guantanamo Bay using CIA operatives posing as Cuban forces. Wow, kind of like January 6th, huh? Operation Northwoods was a proposed false flag operation drafted in 1962 by the DoD and Joint Chiefs of Staff led by Chairman Lyman Lemnitzer. The plan aimed to justify a military invasion of Cuba by staging and committing acts of terrorism on American soil and against U.S. military and civilian targets, then blaming them on Fidel Castro's Cuban government. You get it now? They just keep using the same old scripts, people.
Something could happen on that border, real or staged, that could cause the United States to put boots on the ground in Mexico. I think.
But by the way, we can't ignore what's happening at our southern border. It is a free-for-all, a dangerous, violent free-for-all.
More realistically, what's going to happen? Hopefully none of that happens, because that's going to be fucking horrible for both sides. People thinking it's going to be a cakewalk are fucking fooling themselves. They should actually look and speak to some of the people that are actually involved in military planning. And plans to invade Mexico are already on the books out there that you can research. There's some people online there's a YouTube video of some general somewhere talking about how invading Mexico would be kind of difficult. And the main thing I think is the economic effects are going to be felt right in your front door. So this is not going to be like, there's a war in Afghanistan and all we hear about it is on the news. Now we're going to feel it economically. Products are not going to be on those aisles. People are not going to show up to work. Maybe people are going to have to go back.
Yeah, and a lot of those things are things that are just going to happen, and we're going to have to figure out a way through it. And that's why we need to produce all the things that we need in this country. When everything happened during COVID, we found out really quick about how dependent we were on slave labor supply chains. And when seconds count, help is only minutes away. Some of those things he's talking about, there's not going to be products on the shelves, and people might have to leave and self-deport. Yeah, that's exactly what we're saying. That's exactly reality.
I don't know. It's not going to be, we're going to feel it if it happens, like directly. that could happen, or
what would the cartels do in that scenario? Would they team? I mean, they already are teamed up with the government, but would there be some official insurgency teamed up with the government?
I had this conversation when, again, Gaffe, who is
badass.
He's a ninja. His response was this: if the U.S. decides to attack in a very overt Afghanistan, Iraq type way, shock and awe type way, that has some sort of governments in the local area that it operates in, it's going to turn them into martyrs. And it's going to turn them into freedom fighters instead of cartel members. And in that case...
that's a bad idea. That's a bad idea. Now you're back to Gaza.
Said there was going to be some sort of incident in Mexico that's going to...
All right, I think the clip replayed there. All right, we'll keep Mexico in mind. This post here says, you can judge your own integrity by the corruption of your enemies. If Republicans won't prosecute the crooked Democrats, they are in on it too. All right, there you go. There's the point I was making. There's the point I was making. That's what David and Bella, like, that's what we're all kind of thinking. You can judge your own integrity by the corruption of your enemies. If Republicans won't prosecute the crooked Democrats, they're in on it too. And yes, every crooked politician is an enemy of America. And if the straight politicians won't fight for us, we're done. Straight meaning like honest, if there is such a thing. Democrat congressman, this is shared from Latinos with Trump. Democrat congressman didn't travel to North Carolina for hurricane victims, but they will go to El Salvador to help an MS-13 gang member. Well, once again, they're just saying you haven't proven it in a court yet. He was in court twice. No, he was accused and he never was convicted of anything. People are accused of things all the time. An accusation doesn't mean shit. A charge doesn't mean shit. You got to prove it. And I do believe with that core tenet of what we're dealing with here. I legitimately do. The optics are terrible because the Democrats didn't give a shit about Maui, Palisades, Hurricane Helene, North Carolina, didn't care at all. They're only interested in stopping the good guys from catching the bad guys and furthering their power and control and attacking their political enemies. That's all they care about. So even if the Democrats have a winning issue here, oh my God, the optics are trash. And it cannot be helping the Democrats, even if they're technically right. Post from Hoplite Armor. Dear America, please stop referring to members of the Senate and House as our leaders. We do not answer to them. They are merely our representatives, and they should be reminded of that fact. And they should be reminded of it often. I concur. This post from Nashville Tea Party says, if illegals voted Republican, Democrats would immediately demand deportation and drive the trucks themselves. I would agree with that. Well, let's take a look here. Aesthetica is showing you a post. Is there anything to this? That would be the question. Anything to this? Let's take a look. Aesthetica says, he's not MS-13, guys. Doggone it. Gotta switch the aspect ratio. There we go. I know, the Democrats are destroyed, in my opinion. They are gone. They are as gone as Weekend at Bernie's Biden. And yes, Patty, they do pull out their old playbooks. It's the same tired script. It's like Hollywood. It really is Hollywood. I've heard Scott Adams talk about the Democrat Party is just dorky theater kids. And actually, I don't mind acting and I don't mind but it's the dorky theater kids running a play. It's a dorky play. Okay. Same old tricks, same old script. Come up with a new idea, would you? But it's like Hollywood. They just do another sequel. Here, we're going to change Little Mermaid. We're going to get rid of the white character. Why is that necessary? Because if you're not cool with it, you're a bad guy. In fact, you're a racist. Huh? It's an existing character. Just keep the character. Yeah, well, you thought Hamilton was good. We got away with that, so we're going to race swap all the characters. Dude, is this a thing we need to be doing? No, you're right. By the way, here's Snow White. Here's a non-white actress who hates the script, doesn't like what Snow White's about, and we're going to rewrite it. Okay, cool. Her name's literally Snow White. She's like as fair as the snow, the driving snow or something, right? Like white is in the title of it. It's about a white girl. You got to change that to a non-white girl. And you got to change the story? How about you write a new movie with your main character, your woke character, and have your woke agenda where they praise the thieves and they don't get a kiss to come out of a coma because it's rapey. Okay, write your own story. You don't need to change the existing story. But that's what Hollywood does. They use their same old scripts. They just kind of like, hey, I bet you if we tweak it a little bit, make it our own, we'll be superstars. We'll be heroes. No, you're a bunch of dorks and your stories suck. Just make some new stories. You don't need to change characters. I don't need to remake Black Panther into Pink Panther. Pink Panther. I mean, that is a color. We don't need to race swap Black Panther. We really need a Latina woman of a Latinx actress, a non-binary Latinx actress should play the part of the lead character in Black Panther. How about just write a new movie? It's just wild. I feel like I'm, like I said, living in a cuckoo clock. All right, well, let's take a look as big as we can. I guess maybe should I go side by side here? Because I want you to see these photos. She keeps covering up his hand. Or is he covering up his hand? Whose hand is that? Let's take a look here. I got to become an Abrego Garcia expert. Okay, well, in the left picture, both of her hands are not covering his hand up. He's covering up his own hand. In this picture, she appears to be covering up her. Oh, that's what it was. Never mind. I'm sorry. She's covering up his gang tattoos that are totally not gang tattoos. Except that they are. Except that they're not. Except they are. Except they're not. I can't believe Trump's so stupid to share that and claim that the marijuana leaf means M for MS. See, it's like code. It's super obvious. Why is she putting heart emojis, heart stickers, right over top of his fingers that say, hey, guys, deport me. Hey, guys, I'm a menace to society. Hey, guys, I don't belong here. Hey, guys, I'm a dirtbag. Hey, guys, I'm a criminal, violent monster. Why is she putting hearts? She didn't put them anywhere else in that picture. Hearts do what? They float and flutter up. They should be in the top right, top left corner. They are right over his hands. Wonder why she's doing that. So the finger tattoos might actually be gang logos, but the Dems laughed at that implication. All right, moving on. Pope Francis has died at the age of 88. That's a question I'd like to ask the group. What are your thoughts on Pope Francis? I am not Catholic. I don't really understand what the deal is. I don't quite get it. Just in general, we can talk about this particular pope. He's been called the woke pope. He's been called the anti-pope. And it's been said that the stuff that he supports is completely antithetical to what the pope is supposed to be advocating for. So this was a post that was shared. Kenneth! Hey, there's Kenneth. I haven't seen you in a while. Cheers, Kenneth. The pope is now a nope. Oof. Oof. Reformed Christian Teaching posted this, and I just want to read this to you from Jennifer Lee Myers. She says, today, April 21st, 25 at 7:35 a.m., Jorge Mario Bergoglio, known to the world as Pope Francis, breathed his last. And in that moment, the man who claimed to be the vicar of Christ stood before the true Christ, not robed in white, but stripped of title, mitre, and human honor. Death is no respecter of popes. It rips through all ecclesiastical garments and leaves only what is eternal. And for a man who represented one of the most powerful religious systems on earth, a system that dares to call itself the church, his death is not merely an earthly event, it's a cosmic reminder. God is not mocked. Galatians 6:7. Rome will canonize him. The world will remember his diplomacy, his interfaith outreach, his social reforms. He welcomed idolaters and atheists. Blessed what God has cursed, and exalted human traditions above the word of God. But heaven does not weigh men by sentiment. It weighs them by truth. And the gospel Rome preaches is another gospel. Galatians 1:6-9. A Christ plus works gospel where sacraments replace regeneration. Tradition overshadows scripture, and the Pope dares to sit in a place reserved only for Christ. Let it be known, there is no such office as Vicar of Christ. That title belongs to the Holy Spirit alone. John 14:26. The Pope is not Peter's successor, but the theological descendant of the Pharisees, those who sit in Moses' seat, binding heavy burdens on others while refusing to bear them themselves. Matthew 23:4. We do not rejoice in death, but we tremble when a man who stood at the helm of a system that damns millions now stands before the God who judges without partiality. No papal ring will save him. Between papal, vicar, it's vicar and papal, I think. I'm not Catholic. I don't say these words every day. The papal ring will save him. No indulgences will deliver him. Let the Church of Rome mourn. Let the world eulogize, but let those with eyes see. Another man who claimed the place of Christ has fallen into the hands of the living God. Hebrews 10:31. Let this be a clarion call. Popes die, but the word of the Lord endures forever. May this be a moment where we are reminded to preach the true gospel, salvation by grace alone, through faith alone, in Christ alone, not through the Mass, not through Mary, not through indulgences or priestly absolution, but through the finished work of Jesus Christ, the only mediator between God and man. Flee Rome. Flee every gospel that adds to the cross. Run to Christ, the only head of the church, the only priest, the only redeemer. Let us weep not for the man, but for the millions still trapped in a system that cannot save. Pope Francis is dead, but Christ lives. Let him who has ears to hear, hear. They're going to credit Jeremiah Knight, the Reformation Resurgence. The Pope, 1936, was born, gone in 2025. How do you feel about that one? Yeah, no one between you and God. I've never understood. Who is this guy and why is he being fawned over? That ain't no Christ. God's the the truth, the way, the light, the Holy Spirit, the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, the Holy Ghost. Who's this guy? I don't get it. It's not really my job to get it. I am not Catholic. I will never be Catholic. I have gone to a couple of services and went, what? This is all in Latin. I'm not quite tracking this. Wow, you must have spent a lot of money on this building. Good God. That's a lot of money in this pomp and circumstance. What are we doing here, by the way? Because I haven't understood a word. It's in Latin. Kind of defeats the purpose for me. Like, what are we doing? What good is a speech if you can't understand it? What good is a song if you can't hear it? You know, so. Yes, no one between you and your God. Absolutely. But, you know, it's interesting that it happens on Easter, right? Or right at Easter. The comparison between this person and Christ could never be more stark. So, there we have it. Pope Francis gone at age 88. And by the way, a few of the last photos of Pope Francis before he died. There he is meeting with U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance. Sitting in that chair, not looking so hot, but whatever. So there's a fun conspiracy theory. Is J.D. Vance the bringer of death? I love a good conspiracy. Did J.D. Vance off the Pope? I have nothing to suggest that. But when someone meets with you out of nowhere for the first time and you're gone within a day, yeah, the Pope's health was on the ropes. Pope on the ropes. Rope-a-dope. His health was on the ropes. But yeah, J.D. Vance meets with him right before he passed away. It's interesting. Let's talk about this. World Economic Forum founder and chairman Klaus Schwab has resigned with immediate effect. Pope is gone. Loved, blessed, and grateful is asking what's going on in the world that they want our attention on the dead Luciferian instead. I don't know. Iowa governor, according to Miss Muckraker, Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds has signed legislation to allow 18-year-olds to own and carry handguns. Shouldn't that all be the case? It should be the case. When you're 18, you can fight for the country. So yeah, you get your Second Amendment rights. That doesn't need to be staggered. Oh, check this out. AOC, according to Miss Muckraker, is a current frontrunner in the Democrat Party for the 2028 presidential election, according to a Yale survey. Good luck with that. A reporter says that Powell, he's on the Federal Reserve Board, says he won't leave even if you ask him to. Trump says, oh, he'll leave. If I ask him to, he'll be out of there. I'm not happy with him. If I want him out, he'll be out of there real fast, believe me. Reporter says, are you trying to remove him? Trump, yeah. Next question. So keep your eyes peeled on the Federal Reserve. He wants lower interest rates. We all want lower interest rates. Cut them in half. Cut them to zero. Get rid of usury altogether. Maybe let's try something a little different, huh? You pay 2 or 3 times on your mortgage what your home is worth to banksters for the privilege of what exactly? Setting up an online payment portal? So you're entitled to double the amount of money that I paid for my house because you entered some basic information into an online portal and we process our loans through you. So 95% of my mortgage goes to interest rates. Yeah, cut those down to 0. Cut them down to 1% for administrative cost. Move along. I know that we don't want the federal government to be involved in mortgages. We don't want them, the Fannie Mae, the Freddie Mac, okay, look, I get it. I get it. But why can't we have a United States mortgage system? And you still have to prove lendability, and you still have to have, you have to qualify and put some money down and whatever. But why can't there just be a federal government loan program? And we all kind of back each other's, and like in the pool of properties, if someone goes bankrupt, then we claim the property back as the title owners instead of a mortgage company. Now we own the property. We will sell it on the open market and recoup those losses. And we'll give the loans away basically for free. Isn't that what they do in Israel? Isn't that what they do with the Amish? You just, in Amish countries, you just show up and you raise a farm. I'm sorry, you raise a barn. All right, cool, free and clear. You got a barn now. Go be productive with it. By the way, remember, you got to pay us back. You got to help us build. Because the same neighbor that got his barn built for him just came and built yours. Now you're on the hook. You got to do it for them. It's like, okay, I mean, yeah, like that. If I'm able-bodied, I'll do that. But the banksters just want to keep you in debt forever. They want to keep you a slave. They want to keep you in poverty. I don't like these people. I don't like this system. Maybe we could do better. Patty Kay in Washington said she thought the same about Vance and the Pope. Too fun. I know. What was it? Norm Macdonald and Adam Carolla played Death in Family Guy. And it was like, if you just touch someone, they blah. JD Vance. Hello, Pope. Blah. Pope's gone. But remember, things got weird with the Pope a month ago, 2 months ago, recently, within the past couple months. And you could kind of tell he was on his way out, but now here we are. So, and of course, that's just the graphic of Google not liking Christians or Christianity on Easter. They just ignore Easter and Christ. Christ is king. White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller suggests that ordinary Americans deserve reparations for the damage caused by mass migration. Yes, I did play that clip earlier. Oh, here's an update from a story last week. Remember when I told you about that colonel at Fort McCoy who refused to display the photos of President Trump and Vice President Vance and Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth at her base? Well, Shayla Baez has been suspended as commander of Fort McCoy. Bye-bye. Deuces, people. Adios.
Yeah.
And of course, I don't know if you saw it, last week, I believe we talked about it, but the lab leak theory, don't call it a lab leak, call it a lab release. Please don't call it a lab leak. If something's leaking, it feels accidental. A release feels potentially intentional. I think what China did with COVID was intentional. Prove me wrong. I am not going to believe that's an accident. Nope. Not the way it was weaponized to take Trump out because of all the global instability he was causing by uprooting their two wing of the same dirty bird, money laundering, human trafficking system. Anyway, Joe Rogan and Tim Dillon talking about the White House admitting that COVID came from a lab release. Don't call it a leak. A lab release.
There was just something that got released today that showed, that COVID-19 definitively came from that lab.
1,000%.
100% proof it came from that lab.
I read it, a little bit of it on the way here.
Yeah, it's fucking nuts. It's nuts, man. It's nuts. These fucking people, they just got roped into this.
And it was a completely man-made
100%
disease.
100%. And they knew that from the moment it happened.
It leaked.
The moment it happened. They just lied. And Fauci is just out there walking around.
That's an interesting, it's an interesting case when someone like that in that position repeatedly lied to people about the origins of that.
Yeah. And is allowed to just be free.
And faces zero consequences.
Meanwhile, they were trying to put Trump in jail because he
inflated the price of a condo.
Yeah. Yeah, there was just something that got released today that showed, that COVID-19 definitively came from that lab.
Yeah, I was reporting on that years and years and years and years and years and years and years ago. Actually, I don't know how many years I just said there, but since 2018, 2019, whenever. What? Oh, I love Kenneth's cracked brain. COVID, 19. COVID, 19. 19. Batman. Great. Now I'm going to have that stuck in my head. Not Kenny Rogers here. It's a funny account. How do I go large? There we go. Not Kenny Rogers says, if you're cheering for a man who assassinated a healthcare executive, rooting for a guy who stabbed someone in the heart at a track meet, and calling for a wife-beating gang member to be returned to our country, I really don't give a crap about your thoughts on gun control. Ditto. The Democrats are completely broken. Yeah, I believe we touched on this. The New Mexico judge Joel Cano abruptly resigning after ICE uncovered he's harboring Tren de Aragua gang member on his property. What is going on? What is this about? Something that happened and it just wasn't reported on the other networks? Yeah, what is this all about? Is this a sexual thing? Like, what is this? What is going on here? If that's not a teardrop eye tattoo, it's reminiscent of one. Yeah, I think you got to get that guy out of office immediately. The New Mexico Democrat judge resigns after ICE arrests alleged Tren de Aragua gang member in his home. So Breitbart, according to Lisa Serbo, Breitbart is saying that the judge has resigned from his bench, and this was last month. Why am I just hearing about this story now? New Mexico is a mess. Arizona is a mess, by the way. This is not the one I was going to share for you, but let me just buzz through them. I'm not having fun anymore. It has interesting posts. I don't share all of them, but he said, Ready Player Wolf, we need to get back to a society that is emotionally strong enough to handle the truth. Tokyo Sunbather says, I cannot express my true opinions on current events in this country on this platform. Damn. How many of us feel that way? David's saying that that judge was having a barbecue with the gang, members. Yeah, maybe kind of looking at the pictures, and I just got like gangbang barbecue vibes. I don't know how to describe it, but the judge looked fancy pants. Why do you take in? Who's the type of person that brings in gang members to their home? Who goes out after the runaways? The people that you find a vulnerable kid and you bring him in and you, oh, you look stressed. Let me give you a back rub. Yeah. It did kind of creep me out. Ew, I got like cold chills. Ugh. You know people like this. People say I'm a purist, says 7Cs. I just think trust should be earned and people should value the truth over personalities. All these talking heads with big followings are worthless if they aren't actually informing the public or if they're spewing false narratives and inaccuracies. I didn't start doing this to make friends, following, or money. I just have a hard time trusting that anyone is being honest and authentic. Hey, guys, girls, I get it. I don't, what did Glenn Beck always say? Well, it was Reagan that said trust but verify. Glenn Beck would always say, like, don't believe me, go do your own research. And that was the calling card of the pro-maskers. Oh, you're gonna do your own research, you idiot. You can't come around my family at Easter dinner anymore. You can't work at my company anymore. You can't drive. You can't go to the store and get groceries. You might as well just go take care of yourself in a field. Do my own research. What a nincompoop. Who's laughing now? Who's laughing now? But I try to be authentic. No. The inauthentic people try to be authentic. I'm honestly just unpacking the news with you. We're all going through it together. We're flipping through the book and we're saying, hey, did you see this point? What about that? Hey, that guy makes a good point. What's up with this guy? We're just unpacking it together. I'm not trying to be authentic. I'm just doing it how I do things. And if you keep showing up at my bar, bellying up and grabbing a beverage, cool. You appreciate the way that I deliver the news. I appreciate that. Glad to have you on the team. Oh, there was more to that. Person just has a hard time trusting anyone is being authentic and honest. Selfishly, I don't want to live in a world where you need to become a transhumanist MK Ultra patient to interact with society. And that means making others aware of it. I still believe people will be lining up for... What is a BCI? I don't know what BCI means. Income? Is that like universal... That's UBI. UBI is universal basic income. Oh, brain-computer interface? I don't know. I don't really know. Maybe brain-computer interface. I still believe people will be lining up for BCIs like they did iPhones, but if I can increase the number of people who resist this dystopian death spiral, that's dystopian death spiral, I'll feel as though I've accomplished something good, but that means not leaving room for compromise and benefit of the doubt. Red flags exist for a reason. Don't shoot the messenger, but inversely, don't worship the messenger either. Don Fuego says that's inherently the problem. Truth doesn't have a face. Truth doesn't have a name or a platform. If you're interested only in hearing from your guy on any subject, you've already shortchanged yourself on the quest for truth. But I'll tell you what, if I'm your guy, I'm your Huckleberry. Quote of the day. What's that from? Type it in the comments. I'm your Huckleberry. If I am your news guy, I appreciate that. And I know a lot of you tell me that, like over and like I get messages, I get comments, I get comments made on posts. Like the people that are into the new American media, the product that Brian Engelman is putting together, I appreciate the people who say I am, air quote, your guy, end quote, on these subjects. Now, maybe they're referring in this post to like your guy, like as an expert on that one subject. But I try to get to the understanding. Try to get to the root of what's actually happening on all of the projects. So that's what I'm doing there. I'm trying to understand as much as I can about all of the things all at once. John Rocker saying, why the F hasn't Anthony Fauci or Bill Gates been arrested yet? All caps. That's very on brand for John Rocker. Human Vibration says, because they are just characters. They're just characters who live rent-free in our minds. We are the ones who are imprisoned by these false narratives and manufactured boogeymen. The only way to free ourselves from this mental entrapment is to let go of these foolish, foolhardy notions. Save yourself. Chicken Tender says, I commented under a post on social media today that said, the only vaccine argument we should be having is that you either believe that the government controls your body or it doesn't. And now I'm getting death threats and death wishes. LMAO. I think this is the one post I wanted to share with you, I believe. Greg Reese saying, politicians are there for you to hate so that the ones actually pulling their strings can sleep peacefully. It's kind of like how Dave Chappelle talks about when you're dating. You don't meet when the first time you meet somebody, you're not meeting that person. You're meeting that person's representative. That's who you're meeting. You're meeting their representative. So yeah, the politicians, they're there. They are in front of you to hate. It's like Jesse Ventura said about wrestling. He's like, you know, people loved me, they hated me. Either way, we just wanted the reaction. Whoever I'm in the ring with, somebody likes him, somebody hates him. And at the end of the day, we take a shower, we go back, have a steak dinner, and have a martini. Like, we cheers each other. We're on the same team. They're working for Vince McMahon. You need to see who's pulling the puppet strings behind the scenes. So the architect says people are still performing mental gymnastics every day to try and convince themselves that their guy will win and fix everything. Collective denial will turn into collective anger and then peter off into collective acceptance, and then we will be no farther ahead again. I don't know. That's a very black-pilled pessimistic. I know you don't want their guy to fix everything. Nobody's a messiah like that in politics, but man, I've seen more promise and more action and more positive things happening under Trump than any president I've ever seen. You can have 30 major problems with things that he's done or not done, but I'd rather get a lot of things right and still have complaints about several than have Biden or Kamala Harris in on a fourth Obama puppet term getting nothing right. Yeah, I'll take this every day of the week. So you're not going to catch me getting black-pilled. I'm actually kind of happy some of these things are happening. But this is the black pill versus the red pill situation here. Self-ownership Rex says, for the last effing time, if you choose the lesser evil because your mind is stuck in political theater, fine. But don't you effing dare confuse the lesser evil with good. The lesser evil is by definition evil, and so are you for defending it. But this is that pious, high and mighty opinion bandied about by the libertarians that just makes me ill. I'm like, if you wasted your vote on a libertarian, you had 0% chance of impacting the 2024 election. Zero. Because they were not going to win. They had no chance. That Chase Olivier guy. No chance. Zero chance. And he was against protecting children from just Frankenstein-like unnecessary surgeries and stuff and drugs, and he wasn't protecting the kids. He's completely off the table, not even a valid consideration for president. And honestly, if you can't protect the kids from the groomers and the weirdos and the people making money off of it, like, yeah. But the libertarians that just turn their nose up at the election, it's like, oh, Trump is evil. It's a lesser of two evils. I will not vote for evil. I will vote for Chase Olivier. Like, bro, I would consider it to be evil that you sit out this election and give a vote to Kamala Harris. We know what the deep state Democrat Party's about. They try to explode Trump's head on national TV. They try to throw him in a cage. By the way, for the things that Letitia James is actually allegedly doing with her fraudulent mortgages, unlike what Trump was doing, just mountains out of molehills. I considered it a moral obligation to put Trump and team. It's not about Trump. It's not just about one guy. It's about the whole team. And I would say the team is getting a lot of things right. But look, I have some of these virtuous idealistic friends that lean libertarian, and they're just saying, look, if the guy's this deported guy to El Salvador, if he's so bad, you really have to prove it, because it could be us to Guantanamo Bay next. And I'm like, I'm not going to be at a Home Depot with gang tattoos beating up my wife after sneaking into a country illegally. It will never be me, but it could be. And they're like, oh, for fuck's sake. I can't with this story. So in the vein of protecting all of our civil liberties, I would just like some hearing. If it's redundant, I don't even know what needs to happen. I don't know the way out of it. But if not enough evidence was presented, please just remedy this situation so it's out of the headlines. I am done having that conversation about this gang guy who's not a gang guy, who was illegally in the country, but he was legally in the country under a program, who didn't beat his wife, but he totally beat his wife multiple times and had a restraining order against him, who wasn't in a gang, but he was clearly in a gang, who was arrested with other gang members. But yeah, just because you're arrested with somebody Doesn't mean you're whatever. Yeah, but I'd never affiliate with them. What about the Oath Keepers, for example? You've interviewed several Oath Keepers, and several of them were arrested at J6, and you'd be guilty by association. Like, I've interviewed John Fugelsang, one of the most left-leaning pundits out there. I'll talk to anyone. I enjoy conversations. Just a conversation or proximal. Well, you were January 6th. Doesn't that mean you were a domestic terrorist? Huh? No, I was there as a journalist. Well, you could be kidnapped and thrown into Guantanamo Bay as a potential domestic terrorist under Biden or Obama or the next person. That's why you got to defend the rights of the El Salvadorian guy, because it could be you next. And I'm like, I do get that point. But this story is like two movies playing on the same exact screen. It is weird. So if what it's going to take to get it off of the headlines is to just have one more trial, can we please just do that and get it over with? Please, for the love of God. David saying when the president or presidential candidate is in the dirt zone, things need to change. Yeah, the Democrats are gone. Yeah, who else is going to try and change things? There is no one else. I know who the worst person is in this cycle. I'm going to vote for the person most likely to take that worst person out. That's triage. I have to twist a tourniquet to stop the bleeding of your extremity while I still can. The most urgent thing is stopping the demon that is obviously coming after us. Incidentally, also, I might not have a 100% score by the time that other guy's done. Darn. Yeah, Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, Shohei Ohtani, they all struck out. They don't bat 1,000. There's only a handful of people ever to get 4 hits out of 10. A 400 batting average. That'll get you in the Hall of Fame. Easy trip to Cooperstown if you bat 400 for your career. Easy. That's a failing grade, 4 out of 10. 64% is your F to D zone right there. So yeah, I'll take a few wins. I'll take 70 wins as opposed to 7. I think the Democrats accidentally get a couple of things right. I'm not going to say they get 0 things right all the time, but 7 things out of 10, maybe. I'd rather take 70 wins instead of 7. I'll do 10x. Yeah, but he's not perfect. That's the lesser evil. All right, Mr. Know-It-All, where's perfection? Because I haven't seen it. Not a single time, not a single candidate, not a single election cycle has there been perfection. Christians will say Jesus Christ was the last perfect person to walk the earth. I don't see him on the ballot. Patty Kay from Washington, I'm trying to remember. Look what happens every 4 years, elections and the Olympics. We're in a cycle of not our choosing every 4 years. Anyway, that was an interesting philosophical thread. Thanks for going with me on the journey. This is a report. Well, let's watch a little bit of this report because this is the story that's not going to go away. This is going to be the next. It's going to be the next. Oh my gosh, the media loves a good black on white crime. Oh, do they love it? I hate it. My understanding, my limited understanding, because I don't have all the details. No, this wasn't a self-defense case in any regard. No. Now, I don't have all the information, so I'm willing to change my mind, but all of the reports that I've gathered, I haven't seen any evidence suggesting that. So this is going to be hyped up to try to get black people to support the black guy and white people to support the white guy. I don't give a shit what you look like. I think it's a human interest story. I think it's a human interest story with 2 twins. And a twin was off, and the other twin held him while he bled out like he couldn't stop it. It couldn't help him. You know? I care about the human angle. I don't care who's black, who's white. I know what action seems ridiculous. So I'm preliminarily calling for justice, that this guy should get the death penalty. Who brings a knife to a track meet? And once again, it's okay to carry a knife everywhere. It's not okay to use it. He told me to move. He was mean, so I stabbed him. He grabbed my backpack, so I stabbed him. He threw my backpack, so I stabbed him. Now, if the two twins had piled on top of this guy, were knocking him silly, they were pinning him down, and one of them had his legs pinned and the other was just bludgeoning him. Remember the ground and pound technique with George Zimmerman, where Trayvon Martin was trying to kill George Zimmerman, and Zimmerman used self-defense to protect himself? If that's the story, which I haven't seen any evidence that that's accurate, but if that was the story, all right, then maybe it would make sense. But this story isn't storying for me. I'm not really seeing. I don't see this as a big story because there's no there. So the report here is saying that exclusive. Team Carmelo is funded by George Soros groups. Could that actually be true? I don't know. Let's listen to the report and tell me what you think.
Explosive deep dive into the shadowy dealings surrounding the Carmelo Anthony case. What's unfolding in Dallas is a textbook example of left-wing manipulation, with billionaire George Soros' fingerprints all over it. The Next Generation Action Network, a radical activist group, is at the heart of this controversy, and their ties to Soros-funded organizations are impossible to ignore. But for those of you new to the story, somehow, Carmelo Anthony, a 17-year-old accused of first-degree murder after fatally stabbing Austin Metcalf at a high school track meet, is being propped up as a victim of racist society.
What do you hope to see with this trial? Do you hope to see him walk free or go to jail?
If you guys like a personal opinion, I just want to be home regardless.
You want to be home even if he did it, you want to be home?
Like I said, bro, I see people that look like me get incarcerated for everything.
I don't care if he did it or not.
Me personally? Nah. Me personally, I don't care.
Released on reduced bond by a self-proclaimed DEI judge, Anthony's now lounging in a gated Texas community, bankrolled by a suspicious Help Carmelo official fund that's raked in over $450,000 on Give, Send, Go. The donations, as Patrick Halley and the Dallas Express uncovered, reek of coordination, identical messages, similar amounts dropping at all hours. Leading the charge is Dominique Alexander.
All of the funds that were raised on the GoFundMe were all fraud.
The Next Generation Action Network's founder, who is stoking the racial flames with hashtags like hashtag AmeriKKK and hashtag colonialism.
So after today, I just want the media to know, and I want the public to know, I don't care what you say about me. I've been in this thing for 11 years. I am tried, tested, and proven. I'm gonna just say, I'm from Oak Cliff. Worser things have been said about me, baby. You ain't got to inbox me. You ain't got to tell me. I am the first person to tell my testimony.
Alexander has a rap sheet that includes a guilty plea for injuring his ex-girlfriend's 2-year-old child in 2008. In 2016, he helped lead a Dallas protest that ended in Micah Xavier Johnson's ambush, killing 5 police officers. Alexander's press conference was a total disaster. They kicked out Metcalf's father, a man who had forgiven Carmelo Anthony for the murder of his son. The Next Generation Action Network's funding is a labyrinth of leftist cash. IRS filings reveal they've been paid by at least 3 Soros-linked groups: the Tides Foundation, BVM Capacity Building Institute, and Resist Incorporated. Tides, a Soros-backed slush fund, dropped $25,000 on Alexander's group in 2023 for, quote, equity and human rights, end quote. BVM Capacity Building Institute, flush with $12 million from Soros's empire, funneled $7,500 to Next Generation in 2023 and $51,000 to their sister, the NGAN Foundation, in 2021. Resist Incorporated, another Soros beneficiary, chipped in $7,000 in 2022. Alexander's group has also dodged accountability with revoked tax-exempt status for failing to file proper 990s under multiple aliases. What we're seeing is a deliberate push to inflame racial tensions and turn a murder case into a national flashpoint.
This is a psyop. They want people to go, hey, we're going to peacefully protest in Frisco, Texas. And then they're going to have their agitators there, just like they had their agitators in Charlottesville.
Soros and his network are orchestrating yet another summer of unrest, which gives all of us the uneasy gut feeling of a massive distraction to cover something far more nefarious than a manufactured race war. John Bound, for an explosive deep dive into the shadowy dealings surrounding.
Yeah. And I watched some of that press conference. Like these people are embarrassing, and the criminal record of that guy was acting as one of their spokesmen embarrassment. Stay tuned. We'll see if this becomes the national story of the year. I don't know. This story here from Aaron for Parental Rights says Brazil bans hormone blockers. Okay. Let's check that. Brazil bans hormone blockers. I'm unfamiliar with that post, the person who posted that. Brazil's Federal Court of Medicine, according to Grok, banned puberty blockers for minors with gender dysphoria, effective April 25. Bravo. Resolution prohibits hormone therapy for those under 18 and raises the minimum age for cross-sex hormone therapy from 16 to 18. Gender reassignment surgeries with potential sterilizing effects now require a minimum age of 21, up from 18. Yeah, you cannot make decisions like that when you're a kid. You really shouldn't make decisions like that. You have fully functioning plumbing. Don't mess with it if it ain't broken. You're loved how you were created. A lot of people grow out of their gender dysphoria phase. And a lot of detransitioners, I mean, they wish they could go back and have somebody defend them to protect them from themselves. It's the Baker Mayfield thing. When Baker, the quarterback of the Cleveland Browns, got injured, he kept playing through a shoulder injury, and he wasn't as good as he was the year before in the playoffs. And he kept playing and kept playing and kept playing, and it's like he wasn't himself, and he was in a contract year trying to get a big deal. The coaches and the GM needed to protect Baker from Baker. Say, kid, I appreciate your guts and your toughness, but you don't have it. You're not the same player. We're benching you. I know you want to play. I know you'll get a second opinion. You'll take a pain shot, and you'll fight through it, and you'll do the best you can, but we're not going to play you the rest of the year. We're going to protect you for your own good and for the good of the team. So you're not going to play football again this year. Please get the surgery immediately. You got to protect them from themselves sometimes. So protecting kids from themselves or from Munchausen parents, bravo. Good job. If you have any remaining thoughts in your head about whether or not you should look back upon Joe Biden's puppet term with Obama and his ilk running the show, reading on the teleprompter the goofball stuff that they wrote, remind yourself that this video exists.
Every day between now and November, the American people are going to know that the only reason the border is not secure is Donald Trump.
You remember when he said something that might be the dumbest thing I've ever heard? And these people think you're so stupid they could type the dumbest shit and you'll just eat it up. 137,000 illegal border crossings in March of 24. 7,000. They've taken 130,000 of these off the table. 94% decrease. And they said that if you don't hurry up and pass this bill that's going to try to turn these illegals into legals and money launder more billions into Ukraine. Oh no, it's Trump. It's Trump Republicans. It's MAGA to blame. Yeah, it's MAGA. They're the reason why things are bad. These people hate you. They think you are the dumbest person on earth. Who could possibly believe this drivel?
And his MAGA Republican friends. Every day between now and November, the American people are going to know that the only reason the border is not secure is Donald Trump and his MAGA Republican friends.
And you know what? Trump came in and said, you know what? It didn't take new policy. It just took a new president. And look, we were able to fix the problem. Speaking about the problem, Tom Homan slamming a Democrat senator. Trying to figure out what to do with this problem.
Senator Van Hollen has obviously got a chance to meet with him, but he had to travel to El Salvador to get any information. Does that concern you at all?
We obviously knew his whereabouts because he went there to see him.
It's a good point.
What bothers me more than that is a U.S. Senator traveled to El Salvador on taxpayer dime to meet with an MS-13 gang member, public safety threat terrorist.
How's that even legal?
Meantime,
now, he might be an MS-13 gang member, illegal alien terrorist. The complaint is that it wasn't proven. He was accused of something but never actually convicted. So if you got the evidence, just convict him and get rid of him. Next, I don't want to say his name I don't want to say his name another time. But we're trapped in this hamster wheel. Like, we're not going anywhere with this story.
And the day before he traveled, an illegal alien was arrested for murder, were released to the streets rather than honoring an ICE detainer. And
releasing illegal alien murderers instead of back to immigrations and custom on a detainer, that is pure treason.
His very own state.
What an idiot! Senator Van Hollen has obviously got a chance to...
Anyway, that's the same segment there. Anthony Sabatini here saying, switch it. There we go. Corey Mills, who severely beat his girlfriend last month to the point where she was covered in bruises, now got caught completely fabricating his military history. Serious stolen valor situation. Representative Corey Mills said on his Bronze Star papers he saved this man's life. Troops in the battle told me it's a lie. Yet here he is, months after his star, after taking $2,000 from the man's dad. If the claims I have are true, Mills lied about his war heroics. Did he have help? I don't know. That's a big accusation from Anthony Sabatini about Corey Mills. Keep your eyes peeled on that story. Okay, here's about due process. January 6th, Tim Pool, Joe Rogan. Tim is saying Joe Rogan's argument on due process is wrong.
Problem with things that are going in a radical direction, and then there's an overcorrection. So the overcorrection is lack of due process. The overcorrection is like round them all up, ship them to jail. Like, that's like some things that you say when you're not thinking things through. Like, what do you do about all the criminals? Take them all, fucking send them to El Salvador.
Yeah.
What about due process? No, fuck that. Well, here's the problem with fuck that. What if you are an enemy of, let's not say any current president. Let's pretend we got a new president.
This is exactly the conversation I was having with my libertarian buddy about this.
Totally new guy in 2028. And this is a common practice now of just rounding up gang members with no due process and shipping them to El Salvador. You're a gang member. No, I'm not. Prove it. What? I got to go to court. No, no due process.
That's dangerous, Joe.
That's dangerous. That's dangerous. That's dangerous. We got to be careful that we don't become monsters while we're fighting monsters. I think due process exists.
Tim Pool says Joe is wrong. Democrats created false criminal charges against Trump and his supporters. J6ers were denied due process and Trump's lawyers were arrested. We are well past the next president argument. As we already know, they can, and they will violate our rights. Yeah, we're already in the mix here. It's like, could you imagine a scenario where you could end up in a bad spot? I'm like, yeah, that's why I've been doing the New American Media for 14 years, because it's a life or death situation. Our country is toast. America is kaput. Question of the day, what movie is that from? America is kaput. Yeah, it's why I do what I do. Yeah, we're well past the point of, imagine in the future, maybe something totalitarian and Orwellian could happen. No, it's been happening. That's why we're yelling. That's why we're trying to get the information out, the best information out. Back to the Pope here, Raging West, reporting that Catholics worldwide are now demanding Bishop. Why don't these people have normal names? Bishop Athanasius. I've never heard of an Athanasius. Schneider, demanding that this guy replaces Pope Francis. Let's hear what he has to say, because Pope Francis was sort of like in favor of illegal alien colonization of every sovereign nation on earth. And the Catholic charities have been kind of at the center of the human trafficking allegations and the money laundering allegations, right? Like they're co-conspirators, maybe? Those are the allegations I've heard, at least. So let's listen to what Bishop Schneider has to say about what's been going on.
Yes, this is very serious. Now we're witnessing an invasion. They are not refugees. No, this is
an invasion. These are not refugees. Yeah, I've said all along. illegal alien invaders. These are military-aged men. These are potential sleeper cells trying to get inside the homeland and wait till the moment when the green light's given. You get the alert on your phone, the text message comes through, go. And you're already inside. You got your Trojan horse. You're all set up. You're on the inside of the enemy's gates. Take them out. Destroy them. That's what I would do if I were a bad guy. And it's a lesson we learned from the Trojan horse. Oh, you're being so crazy. You taught me this in school. I read the book. All I did was pay attention to human motivation. No, this is not a migration crisis. Obama and Biden, the pretending, Kamala, the borders are pretending, oh, there's just a migration crisis. No, you guys are running this. You are the human traffickers in chief. You're traitors. No, it's not a crisis of migration. It's an invasion.
An invasion of mass Islamization of Europe, which already...
Okay, specifically in his case, the mass Islamification of Europe to replace the existing citizens is probably the word I was looking for, to replace the citizens of those sovereign nations, Great Britain, France, Germany, Ireland, Scotland. Go wherever you want. They're trying to flood these countries with Islamic converts to change the demographic and change the culture, change the voting, change the power structure of all of Europe. The Trojan horse, the Joe Rogan horse. Oh, there's something in there. That's kind of funny too. Yeah, they do always talk about the extremes. But like, this is an extreme thing, but they're trying to downplay it. This guy is like, they're trying to convert Europe into Islam. And it's not just about Islam, by the way. Like, it's not any one thing. America, Canada, been invaded with Central America, South America, Middle East, Africa, Europe. Like they're just dumping everybody who's not an American citizen into America to dilute the vote of Americans so that they can vote for things that the American citizens don't want. And then guess what? Oh, you're outvoted. It's a democracy. No, it's not a democracy. It's a constitutional republic. And by the way, when you get really bad people like you have in the squad representing America, it's because they put enclaves, little no-go zones, little mini cities that will put someone like Ilhan Omar into public office. I'd love to find out if she actually married her brother committing immigration fraud. Once again, where are the indictments? Yeah, this is an invasion. In his case, this Pope, the Catholic Pope, talking about the Islamification all across Europe, he gets it. The other guy was a part of it.
They went on for at minimum 50, 60 years, the Islamization in Europe. But now it is in mass. It is very evident. And so this is a global political agenda by the powerful of the world to destroy Europe culturally and religiously. I mean, to destroy Christianity ultimately in Europe. With the help of the massive Islamic population. And I was reading recently an article of a sociologist who made a calculation that maybe in 30 or 40 years, when it's now going on, so the majority of the population of Europe will be Islamic. Europe will be Islamic when this will go on, because the European people have almost no children, 1 or 2. The Muslims there, they have 5, 6 to 10 children. And so it is, you can only make mathematics, and then you can see that they will be in the majority. Yes.
So there you have it. You can maybe see why some Catholics worldwide are demanding that Bishop Schneider replace Pope Francis. Someone who gets the invasion, the colonization through the Obama doctrine, to forever change the history, the fabric of the nations, to permanently change the voting blocks, to permanently change the power structure. That's their plan. Not accidental, not a crisis, a plan, a Cloward and Piven strategy to overwhelm the system and topple it from the inside out. The true Joe Rogan horse. I mean, Trojan horse. By the way, he said is a plot to destroy Christianity. And I know there's a lot of people that will conflate Christianity with Catholicism, maybe. And there's other people that say Catholicism is a cult. That's not Christianity. Christianity does not worship, they can talk about Mary. They don't worship Mary. They can talk about other people with high regard. That's fine. But the way the Catholicism, like, all right, I need to ask Mother Mary for forgive. I need to go see a man in a box to forgive me. That's a conversation between you and God. You don't need an intermediary, say many Christians. So, just wherever you land on it, I know where I'm at. I think this might be the same clip I just played. Just give it a second to see if it is.
Senator traveled El Salvador on taxpayer.
Yeah, on taxpayer dollars. Tom Homan. That was the same one we saw. Marjorie Taylor Greene says it all comes down to one foundational truth. There are only two genders and sexes, male and female. No amount of hormones, medications, or surgeries will change a person's gender or sex. All of those who believe the lie are lost, both mentally and spiritually. Do you agree or disagree with that? David Harris Jr. Oh, I could do it this way. Here, let me do it this way. Do you agree or disagree? Do you agree or disagree that there's only two genders and two sexes? I got to use those stingers more often. David Harris here, putting this Pete Hegseth interview on C-SPAN out. Media smears won't derail accountability.
What do you want to say, sir, about the signal chat controversy?
What a big surprise that a few leakers get fired and suddenly a bunch of hit pieces come out from the same media that peddled the Russia hoax. Won't give back their Pulitzers. They got Pulitzers for a bunch of lies.
I don't know why that hasn't been remedied. The Pulitzers for the lies should be corrected, or else you've totally ruined your credibility forever. Is that really worth is ruining your credibility worth being right, or just not giving in, or not acquiescing, or finding another route? And unfortunately, that is kind of where we're at with that Abrego Garcia, what's his name? Kilmar. You in the modern era of public relations, you don't apologize. You can't, because they'll use it against you. They'll just destroy you. Show weakness, you're gone. Give an inch, they'll take a mile. Give a mouse a cookie, they'll ask you for some milk. I get it. But like Pulitzer being so stubborn to not rescind those Pulitzer Prizes for fake news. They were manipulated by the deep state Democrats who were trying to take out Trump. And they got fancy awards for it. Well, now that you know they were lies, you need to strip those. You need to ask for those back and make a public declaration that says, hey, it looks like these people were duped and we're not going to reward that. So President Trump and administration, the Abrego Garcia, the deported alien guy, don't worry so much about being right and getting the win. Worry about the procedural protective way to get a win, where all of our civil liberties are kind of watched over and respected. Don't cut off your nose to spite your face. No, I'm not going to listen to some appellate. I am in charge. Yeah. But it may eventually, like Pulitzer, it may be to your own detriment. Years later, you're going, or even days or weeks later, you're going, well, why didn't we do that a different way? You don't want to ruin your credibility on civil rights issues because, like they said, some people in the administration said they got this one wrong. It was a clerical error. This shouldn't have happened this way. He was accused but not actually convicted. Anyway, it's just a reminder that the Pulitzer thing kind of does relate to the deportation thing.
Pulitzer's for a bunch of lies and on hoaxes, time and time and time again. And as they peddle those lies, no one ever calls them on it. See, this is what the media does. They take anonymous sources from disgruntled former employees, and then they try to slash and burn people and ruin their reputations. Not going to work with me, because we're changing the Defense Department, putting the Pentagon back in the hands of warfighters, and anonymous smears from disgruntled former employees on old news doesn't matter. So I'm happy to be here at the Easter egg roll with my dad and my kids, because, you know, this is what we're doing it for. These kids right here. This is why we're fighting the fake news media. This is why we're fighting slash and burn Democrats. This is why we're fighting hoaxsters. This group, no, this group right here, full of hoaxsters that peddle anonymous sources from leakers with axes to grind, and then you put it all together as if it's some news story. And when we know exactly what it is. So I'm really proud of what we're doing for the president, fighting hard across the board, and I'm going to go roll some Easter eggs with my kids. Thank you very much. Have spoken to the president, and we are going to continue fighting on the same page all the way.
So there you go. They're coming after Hegseth still, but he's fighting back. Andy No reporting 2 Maryland men. Let me check my screen, switch it. I knew I needed to switch it. 2 Maryland men had been arrested over the murder of a 23-year-old mother whose body was found on April 17, buried outside the Cedarville State Forest in Prince George's County, the same county where Kilmar Abrego Garcia lived. Illegal migrant, Casey Robinson, Alexi Barrera. Why do they all have 45 names? Casey Robinson, Alexi Barrera Rosa. What? That is 5 names. People get 3 names. You get 2 names unless you're an assassin or a serial killer. Then you get your middle name. Or if you're in trouble with your mom. 5 names? Come on. Illegal alien arrested according to, what is this? Andy No. And 28.0 Chasing Death says, arrested out of state and will be transported back to Maryland to face charges. Well, here's a guy with 4 names now. Rolvin? These aren't even real names. Rolvin. Eduardo Barrera. Oh, come on. His last name is his same last name twice? Eduardo Barrera, 37, of unknown immigration status, was charged with being an accessory to the murder. This is the latest murder of a woman in Maryland involving suspects who are illegal foreign nationals. Make Maryland great again. Remove all non-citizens. It's gross. Every week we have stories like this.
This is
Trish Regan talking about what's going on at our IRS.
Is outrageous. IRS employees not paying their taxes?
Over 100,000 federal workers are not paying their taxes. In 2021, the IRS found that almost 150,000 federal workers owe about $1.5 billion in unpaid taxes. Over 5,000 of them work at the IRS and owe $50 million in overdue taxes. Even though the IRS can fire its workers that are not paying their taxes, only 20 people have been terminated. That double standard is something Senator Joni Ernst, Senate Doge Caucus chair, wants to stop.
This is outrageous. IRS employees not paying their taxes?
Overall,
not surprised button. Not surprised. Breitbart saying that Chevron has begun a key oil project in the Gulf of America. By the way, I'm getting pretty used to saying Gulf of America. I'm all right with it. I actually kind of like it. It was a little weird at first, but it's North America, it's South America. We are America. It's the Gulf of America. That's what it is now. Makes more sense this way. Trump administration defending deportations. Here's a clip from Hannity's show.
Joining me now is House Ways and Means Committee Chairman, Missouri Congressman Jason Smith. Mr. Chairman, you and a couple of Republican lawmakers just visited El Salvador, and you toured the prison holding the deportees. Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer rejected House Democrats' request for a congressional delegation to go to El Salvador. But I do want to hear about your trip. Do you think that Democrats should be able to see what's going on, or do you agree with Mr. Comer, Chairman Comer, that enough is enough with the taxpayer-funded trips?
The reason why we were down there was a trade delegation for Central and South America. If you've noticed, the Ways and Means Committee is in charge of all trade policy, and of course, there's a few things called tariffs that's being discussed globally. And so we were meeting with a lot of the finance and trade ministers. But while we were in El Salvador, we also wanted to see the prison. There's been a lot of discussion of whether it's safe, what is it like, and so the El Salvador government allowed all of us to go through the facility. And I'll tell you, going through that facility, I've been through numerous U.S. prisons. This is much different. This is a terrorism confinement center. And while we were there, there was 2 different MS-13 gang members that we spoke to within their cells. One was originally deported from Highland Park, California, who told us that he had killed 6 people while in the United States. And then there was another one deported from Northern Virginia. These are terrorists according to Donald Trump's designation, and they're in the right place right now in El Salvador.
I don't want any bad guys. President Trump here says preemptive cuts in interest rates are being called for by many, with energy costs being way down, food prices, including Biden's egg disaster, substantially lower, and most other things trending down. There's virtually no inflation. With these costs trending so nicely downward, just what I predicted they would do, there can almost be no inflation. But there can be a slowing of the economy unless Mr. Too Late, a major loser, lowers interest rates. Now, Europe has already lowered 7 times. Powell has always been too late, except when it came to the election period, when he lowered it in order to help sleepy Joe Biden and later Kamala get elected. How did that work out? Thrilla the Gorilla says, name a reason a child would ever need this. And it's a kid with a handgun, Ear protection, that's good. 2 hands, all right. Name a reason a child would ever need this. Derek says, track meet. Track meet. This is the president's thoughts on Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, according to Carolyn Levitt.
The president stands strongly behind Secretary Hegseth, who is doing a phenomenal job leading the Pentagon. And this is what happens when the entire Pentagon is working against you and working against the monumental change that you are trying to implement. Secretary Hegseth was nominated for this position because he is standing up for the war fighter, the men and women in uniform who are putting their lives on the line to protect our country and our homeland. And unfortunately, there have been people at that building who don't like the change the secretary is trying to bring, so they are leaking and they are lying to the mainstream media. We've seen this game played before. The secretary is doing a tremendous job, and the president stands strongly behind him. The president stands strongly behind Secretary Hegseth, who is doing a phenomenal job leading the
So they are connected there. This feels like the same video I just watched. Let's make sure.
Yes, this is very serious. Now we are witnessing an invasion. They are not refugees. No, this is an invasion.
Yes, this is the video that I shared earlier about the invasion of Europe. All right. We will switch over to X and go through the rapid fire round here as we buzz through the last part of the TNAM AM Show, a division of the Agree to Disagree Show. Subscribe to the podcast on Spotify and iTunes, the Agree to Disagree Show. You get the TNAM AM shows there. Also check out the the Unhappy Hour Sports Show that has our Strictly Football shows and our The Unhappy Hour shows. We're going to be doing some draft shows this week with Mike Barra, with Jason Mellon. Got a couple new things coming out. Stay tuned for all of that. Oh, let me put on the bottom of the screen places you can find the New American Media. I didn't mention it before. We're on Instagram, Facebook, Truth Social, Rumble, Odyssey, Twitch, Kick, DLive, and YouTube by searching the New American Media. On Telegram and Signal, we're at TNAM and TNAM Chat. We're on X at American_media_. And our podcast is the Agree to Disagree Show, as I said. Also, donation links for anyone that would like to participate. Thank you to our new Patreon members. We're on Patreon at the New American Media. If you want to send us a cup of coffee or a new coffee pot. Venmo at Brian Engelman. Cash App, $ Brian Engelman, and PayPal at Fuzz Installment at the bottom of your screen. Of course, we'll say for countervailing views on health and elections, go to cdc.gov, who.int, and cisa.gov/rumor control. That there at the bottom of the screen. I say to you under duress, because if we don't say these things, they like to silence our ability to distribute the shows. David says he has a hard time finding our show. Well, David, for it being tricky to find our show, you do a good job of finding it. I appreciate that. All right, let's buzz through it. Luke Radowski says the government just did the funniest thing ever. The White House just updated covid.gov, and it says lab leak. And there's President Trump. It says the proximal origin SARS-CoV-2 publication, which was used repeatedly by public health officials and the media to discredit the lab leak theory, was prompted by Dr. Fauci to push the preferred narrative that COVID-19 originated naturally. 1, the virus possesses... Oh, here, let me... I'll put the countervailing views on the screen because Google, YouTube want you to have countervailing views. But the White House says the virus possesses a biological characteristic that's not found in nature. 2, data shows that all COVID-19 cases stem from a single introduction into humans, running contrary to previous pandemics where there were multiple spillover events. 3, Wuhan is home to China's foremost SARS research lab, which has a history of conducting gain-of-function research, which is gene-altering and organism supercharging. A history of conducting gain-of-function research at inadequate biosafety levels. 4, Wuhan Institute of Virology researchers were sick with COVID-like symptoms in the fall of 2019, months before COVID-19 was discovered at the wet market. 5, by nearly all measures of science, if there was evidence of a natural origin, it would have already surfaced, but it hasn't. So take that, YouTube. Take that. I was reporting on that for 5 years, 6 years. And we've had our content shadow banned, demonetized, had accounts deleted, suspended, silenced, suspended, warnings, strikes. And they were the ones lying the whole time. Anyway, Brian Cates here says, where do you try people with higher loyalties who commit acts of war against their own president and against their own country and their own people? Think long and hard about this question and don't just give me a stupid knee-jerk answer. Higher loyalties. Vigilant Fox reporting RFK Jr. completely shatters the media's favorite lie about autism. They say autism is rising because of better diagnoses. But RFK Jr. just blew that narrative wide open. He brought the hard data and dropped one stunning truth nobody can explain. Go ahead and click on that on our X feed for that thread. Here is our Strictly Football episode. Please check it out with Jim Mitchell and Mike Barra talking about the off-season moves in the NFL. Here's a guy speaking on behalf of the track meet stabber.
Nobody in the public media has one video camera, but we got the video of Kyle Rittenhouse with an AK-47 shooting 3 people in the back. We got that.
I'm sorry, what? It wasn't an AK-47 and it wasn't in the back.
People in the back. We got that.
No, you don't. I don't know what's going back here. He's like,
Nobody in the
wiping your
public media
face.
has one video camera, but we got the video of Kyle Rittenhouse.
I don't know what's going on. I don't like this whole story. I hope it doesn't get the rabid coverage and nationwide protests and riots like they might be aiming for. Matt Van Swole here says, can anyone explain to me why Democrats are flying to other countries to help illegal immigrant criminals, but none of them came here to Western North Carolina to help their fellow Americans? I don't understand. Showing pictures of the carnage. I don't know what's going on in this video, if it's real or not, but I found it and it looked interesting.
You know, I was out hunting today. Come up on this old lake way back in the woods, and I saw an eagle all the way across it.
And by the way, this is the type of thing where they'll say, oh, your content had copyright claim material, just this generic elevator music in the background that people use for like sound design to put underneath their video. They'll say, well, because you had copyright material, we can't distribute it to all the countries on the earth. So, you know, you just did a fantastic broadcast going through about 1,000 different stories and philosophical angles, cracking jokes and digging around. But now nobody's going to get to see it because this silly little video happened to have generic music playing in the background behind it. You don't hate social media enough. Here we go.
Still late. And I said, Lord, I sure would like to get close to that eagle, because sometimes I feel like you don't always hear me, but if you hear me today, let me get close. I had a bald eagle land on my shoulder, out here hunting. I don't think you can get no closer than that right there. You know,
So these videos, you always wonder if it's staged or not, but he said, hey, Lord, I feel like you don't listen to me sometimes. If you're out there, put me closer to that eagle, bring, you know, and then bam, on his shoulder. So I don't know. I always wonder if they're staged. This might not be staged. Oh, it's music. I can't play it. Yeah. And there's the alleged illegal alien invader dancing with the Democrat. Haters will say this is AI. Oh, boy. Yeah, we put this out there and said, please stop calling it a lab leak. Leak implies accidental intent. Call this a potentially intentional lab release. It seems most likely that this virus was unleashed upon the world intentionally. Stop saying lab leak. Here is a show that I did. NFL draft preview in the TNAM AM Show.
Number 2.
Talking with Jason. So check that one out. It's on our X feed. National Labor Relations Board whistleblower has been caught lying about a Doge data breach. Daniel Burles claimed that immediately following Doge being given logins for NLRB's computer systems, those same logins were used to send massive amounts of data to Russia. The problem was that when he made the claims, the NLRB confirmed that Doge did not have access to the systems, nor had it requested access. The NLRB investigated the reported breach and confirmed that no breach of agency systems had occurred. Elon reminding us that filing a deliberately false whistleblower claim is a serious crime. Hey, here's one for you. You know that trend to make everybody into action figures? Well, here's an action figure that they call the inaction figure. It's called the Pam Bondi. All talk, no cuffs. She's got her Fox News microphone, copy of the Constitution, some sealed indictments. What's the warning say? I can't read it. She has not arrested or indicted a single deep state criminal, not one. What is she even doing? Klaus Schwab is gone. Geneva, Switzerland. Today, Klaus Schwab, chairman of the board of trustees of WEF, informed the board. Do I have a Klaus Schwab accent? It's sort of like Soros and No, I don't have one. Following my recent announcement, and as I enter my 88th year, I decided to step down from the position of chair and as a member of the board of trustees with immediate effect. Yeah, I don't know. Something's up here. Something's up. Joey Manarino says it's been a bad morning for communists. The Pope just died, and he was a communist sympathizer, according to many. Klaus Schwab just resigned from the WEF, and things usually happen in threes, so what's the rest of the day going to bring? This here is where we gave you that reading, Reformed Christian reading about the purpose of a pope. Here's Joe Rogan one more time.
When it comes to this kind of stuff, like we already know now because of Doge that there was money that was going with no receipts, billions and billions of dollars.
And yes, David, no. That could not be a real dancing senator. It was not. It was AI. But I mean, you're going to play kissy face with a illegal alien gang member who allegedly may have been very close to where Seth Rich was commissioned for execution after revealing that the Democrats rigged their primary in favor of Hillary to get to oust Bernie Sanders in a coup, because Bernie had the popularity, but Hillary had the power. Kenneth, I bet he likes it in the back. Yeah, well. Yeah, David Bann. Klaus Schwab does resemble Dr. Evil. I mean, he's got an outfit. He's definitely got an outfit. Sorry, let me reverse Joe Rogan here.
When it comes to this kind of stuff, like we already know now because of Doge that there was money that was going with no receipts, billions and billions of dollars that was just flying out with no receipts. They have no idea where it went. And Elon openly said, if this was a public company, it would be delisted and the people who ran it would go to prison. But because it's the government, you're like, oh, I don't know what we did. We just, they have no receipts.
Do you think
that could be going to it?
You think they'll bring charges against anyone for fraud?
That's the worry about disclosure.
Because
I think that's what's holding it back.
I think people need concrete stuff.
When it comes to this kind of stuff, like we are.
Yeah, we need concrete stuff, and we need to actually address the criminality. Jurgen Naudit says, human elimination in the U.S. under Trump? A Southern California mayor has said that he wants to eliminate his city's homeless by giving them as much fentanyl as they want. So I don't know if this is being misrepresented, misreported, because there's so many lefties that are like, yeah, all the drugs should just be like all druggy and stuff. And yeah, it's just like freedom of choice. Like, it's all good, man. Just like, stuff. Or Republican Lancaster Mayor Rex Parris made these remarks during a city council meeting. I want to give them free fentanyl. That's what I want to do. Actually, let me look him up. Mayor Rex Parris. So I think he's saying, yeah, get the junkies off the street. Give them all everything they need so that they go away. Just want to see if this is being reported in context or out of context. Oh, here's the audio. Let's play it. It's always better when you can get the actual source information. Let's listen to the audio.
It sounds like you want to kind of enclose all these homeless people in one territory. And
what I want to do is give them free fentanyl. I mean, that's what I want to do.
Do what?
I want to give them free fentanyl.
I can't understand what you're saying. You wanted to get them what?
I want to give them all the fentanyl they want. That's what I want.
I don't regret saying it. I'm happy that we're focusing the attention on an aspect of this problem that nobody seems to want to look at.
Thank you.
These people are killing our citizens.
Yeah.
Not a lot of them, but some of them. They have no respect for law and order.
Yeah, and you can't just have free range homeless all over your country. You just can't. You have to round them up and put them into facilities where they can be rehabilitated, where they can get their lives in order. Speaking about rehabilitated, putting your lives in order, Elon says this is the woke mind virus in action. Now it's time for the mind virus to die. John Lefevre says this is what the social contagion looks like. You go all the way back to 1939, and you got 0.4%, what is this, percent of transgender people. Less than 0.5%. John says, when I was a kid, we had eating disorders, goths, Wiccans, and parents who forced kids to play a sport to vicariously fulfill some unmet dream of theirs. But now we have this. Look what's been happening since about, kind of a spike in 1961 to 0.6. I mean, barely. It's mostly all here. Then in 86, 87, you see some movement. A little backtracking into 95, and then kablamo coming up to 3.8%. Oh, and this only goes to 2005. Oh my God, if this only goes to 2005, what is it like now? Hold on, let me say that. OMG. If this chart only goes to 2005, what does 2005 to 2025 actually look like? Man, I don't know. Okay. Anyway. Amuse here is reporting in the UK. Catherine is the Princess of Wales. Now required to wear an Islamic hijab, and Muslim men are permitted to refuse to shake her hand. Britain has been conquered. What is this?
Very nice to meet you. Thank you for having us today. Thank you for having us today.
I don't understand this forcing people
Very nice to meet you. Thank you for having us today.
to put stuff on their head and cover up. No thanks. I'm good. You want to do that where you're at? All right. Not doing it. Not doing it. Don't do that. I think it's disrespectful to ask somebody to cover their face. I think that's one of the rudest things you could ever do. Oh, it's their culture. It's what they do. Not with me, it's not. What was it, Marine Le Pen? It was one of these European leaders that, she went to a meeting and the guy said, you got to wear a ghost costume or something, cover your face up. And she's like, nope, I'm good. Meeting's over. We're not doing this. That's how you handle things. You're not going to take a knee and do this stuff because somebody says so. I'm just, no thanks. Look, a Queensland council worker has been caught on camera luring a cat into the street so she could slap the owners with a $280 roaming fine. I've managed feral cat communities, and there is a point to getting cats spayed and neutered. But stop targeting the people that are trying to help. Stop targeting feral cats. Don't you dare. Let's watch the video. Mute the music. Here's the kitty cat. And now she's walking backwards. Walking back further. She's what? Looking in her pocket? Is she trying to get some treats? Where there's cars running in the road, she's going pocket to pocket. The cat's coming out. Oh, there's another cat. Like, hey, what's going on? What's she doing? She's picking up the cat. What is she doing? Taking the cat? Hold on a second. She took the cat. Hold on a second. She stole the cat? This is the most government thing I've ever seen. Wow. The problem with Australians is not that so many of them are descended from convicts, but that so many of them are descended from prison officers. There's a good. Oh, this video makes me angry. I am a cat fan. What is this one here? Seattle police, according to Eagle Wings, arrest a street preacher for reading the Bible and cite a risk to public safety. Cops arrested a man quietly reading his Bible in a public park in Seattle. While it's okay for drag queens, pedos, and baby murderers to do whatever they want, hold on. What is this video?
And another of his disciples said unto him, Lord, suffer me first to go and bury my father. But Jesus said unto him, Follow me, and let the dead bury their dead. And it was entered into a ship, his disciples followed him. And behold, there was a great tempest in the sea.
So at this point, we can no longer stand by the risk that you pose for public safety by remaining here.
A risk that you pose to public safety by remaining here? Your existence is a risk to public safety?
Can be mitigated if you leave. Your last chance.
I don't want to leave because I'm not in danger. I'm not in danger. It's time for I'm switching to public officer.
The anti-Christians, they're cheering that their Gestapo is going to arrest and remove this guy. I don't know the backstory here. I'd like to get some more info. And of course, if you want to know what's going on with the globalist Pope Francis and Klaus Schwab fleeing the World Economic Forum, what's Alex got to say about it?
Two huge events happened today. Pope Francis died and Klaus Schwab completely resigned from the WEF. Both of these are massive events. Now, it's not nice to talk bad about the dead, but the facts are Pope Francis was the first Jesuit pope. When they set up the Jesuits over 500 years ago to police the Catholic Church, it was expressly against the law, canon law, to have one be a pope. Because you can't have the Praetorian Guard that supposedly protect the faith of Jesus, then be the ones that would obviously put their guy in. But that happened. So all the globalists had to do was get control of the Jesuits, which they totally turned into a huge leftist, basically communist arm in the last 100 years. Then they had control of the Catholic Church. Like every other major institution has been taken over by the globalists. We're now in the process of humanity awakening and taking back the institutions all over the world. Catholics are great people. That's why the globalists have been targeting traditional Catholics, trying to outlaw them and say they're criminals.
And traditional Catholics trying to live a modest, godly existence, experience. I mean, you don't hear too many problems from Catholics imposing their will and blowing people up or stabbing people if they, there's religious groups of people that do their thing and don't really bother other people. That's the type of group that's fine. I don't have anything against Catholics. I am not Catholic. I like I said, I've had a lot of people talk about like, what the heck is going on with Catholicism? Is it a cult? Is it this or that? Is it even Christianity? And those are conversations you're allowed to have. You can explore that subject matter without the vitriol or the aggression or violence or any of that or persecution. Someone can be a Pittsburgh Pirates fan. What do I care? It's not my team. I'm not going to root for it. Like I'm not going to try to ruin your team. And there are a lot of great Catholics out there, for sure. And that's why they've been under attack. And that's why they put a globalist, communist pope, according to many. I don't claim to be a pope expert, but I know Pope Francis was not in alignment with a lot of the common sense issues, the MAGA issues, and other stuff that we're dealing with. So, yeah, you don't want to speak ill of the dead, but is it addition by subtraction that this guy is gone? Well, the question is, who's going to replace this guy? Will you get a woke pope? Do you want a woke pope? No, absolutely not. David, you said if they give them free drugs, they'll come like zombies to his town. Yes, but the point is, then they'll off themselves and just self-delete is kind of like what he's getting at. Take all the free drugs you want. Please get out of here. Here's an express path. And like he said, he's not apologizing. He's glad that we're finally having this conversation. And I can empathize with that. I'm down with that. I get that. Yeah, why would you want to live in any of these crazy states? I love California, sort of, and I had to get out of there. And I sort of miss it.
But if you really want to take over the different large sects of Christianity, you've got to take over the leadership of it. So his death, when he promoted open borders and one world religion and just criticized President Trump and other populist leaders and went on, is really emblematic of the overall collapsing globalist system we see. And I say, God have mercy on his soul. I'm not going to judge him, but most Catholics I know absolutely think that he was a terrible, terrible pope. Now, moving on to who we know is pure evil, and that is Klaus Schwab, the protege of Henry Kissinger.
And I think that's a fair point to just kind of summarize my thoughts on it. A lot of the smart Catholics that I know couldn't stand this pope. He was as bad as Obama as an American president, going, who do you work for? What are you doing? How did you seize control of this position? You are ill-equipped. In fact, you're openly hostile to the people you're supposed to represent. What are you doing? So in a similar way, I've heard that said as well. On to Klaus Schwab.
The mouthpiece of the UN and the globalists. 2 years ago, they made the WEF co-equal with the UN under global government. I mean, this is massive. So 6 months ago, he resigns as the chairman. That wasn't enough. Then he resigned off the main committee. Now he's completely resigned from the WEF today because he's so hated and nobody wants to be part of that organization and it's falling apart. It was the preeminent globalist organization just a few years ago. You will eat the bugs. And now it is falling down in front of everybody. And all of their policies around the world are being shut down. And the U.S. taxpayer money through USAID and the EPA, hundreds of millions a year, is being cut off. And so the mouth of the New World Order is discredited, is falling apart. And Klaus Schwab just said 2 years ago he would never resign. Now he's completely gone out of the organization he founded. Be really the public face of the Bilderberg Group. So this is a very, very exciting time to be alive. It's emblematic, again, an archetype, an omen, everything else that's happening. I'll be on the air today at 11 a.m. Central covering this.
So yeah, it's the end of an era. By the way, end of an era, Adam Schiff and John Brennan as domestic enemies of the United States who were responsible for the attempted overthrow of the United States government in 2016 and the overthrow of the United States government in 2020. Let's listen to Tulsi Gabbard, because this feels like the end of an era. This one feels very good.
The mob that stormed the Capitol on January 6th to try to stop Congress from carrying out its constitutional responsibilities were behaving like domestic enemies of our country.
And how many of those were undercover informants? Do we still have... Where are the numbers of the undercover informants? The Ray Epsises, allegedly. People who opened the magnetic doors to let people inside. Do we still have open question marks on that before you're just going to besmirch all of those people? I think a lot of people, because when the pressure built behind them, they had nowhere to go. I could even understand opening the doors to ease the pressure and get the people flowing through, get them in and get them out somewhere else. Anyway, she continues.
But let's be clear. The John Brennans, Adam Schiffs, and the oligarchs in big tech who are trying to undermine our
oligarchs. We're saying the word oligarchs. That's the word of the year.
The John Brennans, Adam Schiffs, and the oligarchs in big tech who are trying to undermine our constitutionally protected rights and turn our country into a police state with KGB-style surveillance are also domestic enemies and much more powerful and therefore dangerous than the mob that stormed the Capitol. Now, John Brennan said,
So I know looking forward that the members of the Biden team who have been nominated or have been appointed are now moving in laser-like fashion to try to uncover as much as they can about what looks very similar to insurgency movements that we've seen overseas, where they germinate in different parts of a country and they gain strength, and it brings together an unholy alliance frequently of religious extremists, authoritarians, fascists, bigots, racists, nativists, even libertarians.
now, President Biden, I call upon you and all members of Congress from both parties to denounce these efforts by the likes of Brennan and
Now, this is old, obviously.
others to take away our civil liberties that are endowed to us by our Creator and guaranteed in our Constitution. If you don't stand up to these people now, then our country will be in great peril.
And so that's who Tulsi was, and that's who's the head of our DNI. So, where are the indictments for Schiff and Brennan? Still waiting to find it. We'd like to see some action. Laura Loomer reporting on anti-Trump air quote protesters outside the White House. They became enraged today when Laura Loomer took footage of them putting their signs and other protest materials into a big blue van. The protesters became even angrier after we asked them if they were paid and how far they traveled to D.C. She says they appear to be a mixture of transgenders and Muslims.
Hi. Can I
Hi.
do something?
Oh, I'm just documenting you guys putting all your protest stuff in a van. It's very nice of you. How far did you travel to come to protest today?
That's not really your concern.
I'm just a journalist, so I'm just curious,
Okay. Are you with a news agency?
Yeah, independent.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So is there any questions that I can answer you for?
Yeah, where'd you guys come from today?
We live here in the DC area.
Then why do you have a van full of stuff? People
Well, you
wearing
might know
masks.
there's a road here.
Yeah,
And
no.
the roads are great for transporting things and traveling. So.
Just, I can videotape on a sidewalk, so.
No, I'm gonna stop you from videotaping him.
Yeah, I'm not gonna interrupt you guys. I'm just
trying to understand.
interesting. You guys are putting everything in a van, and you're getting really mad about it. That looks really suspicious.
I'm just trying to make sure that you have, all the answers that you would.
Are you guys
for.
paid?
So.
How much did Soros or Reid Hoffman pay you to come protest Trump today? Come on. Was it good? Did you get paid well? I'm a journalist, so well, yeah. How much are you guys getting paid? Do you guys have fun?
Oh wait, how much are paying you?
Like I said, I'm a journalist. My pay doesn't matter. I'm here to document the rally.
Okay. Well, the rally is over.
So do you guys get paid today?
For you, for a good day?
Are you sure?
Yep. You
Positive? Oh, you don't want me to get the license plate? Why? Why? Because I don't know. If you guys are a legitimate grassroots, you shouldn't be worried about it. But if someone's funding you, clearly.
Is that from Washington, D.C.? Local play.
Oh my goodness, let me see.
So, yeah. All right. Roger Stone calling for Logan Act violations. Why hasn't he been arrested? Democrat Representative Jamie Raskin issued a warning to any foreign country that aligns with Trump, saying that when Democrats return to power, they won't forget who stood where. Logan Act violation. Why hasn't he been arrested? We just keep asking, why hasn't anyone ever been arrested? Because it's going to be really bad if these people aren't held accountable. This is the last chance we got. Or else, let's find a nice place, nice cave to crawl inside of. Eric Daughtry here. This is a video of a Canadian woman losing it after finding out she needs an MRI to test for brain tumor. And they made her appointment. Well, what's the problem with the appointment?
Today on How Fucked is Canadian Healthcare, I need an MRI to see if I have a fucking brain tumor.
By the way, David, you're saying, why would you want to live in any of these crazy states, right? Why would you want to live in any of these crazy states? Well, here's a crazy country called Canada. After 9 years of a liberal government, this is healthcare in Canada.
And go ahead, guess when it is. Go ahead, guess. It's in 2026.
Reason for visit, Mr. Brain? Mr. Brain. What? 2026.
2026. My MRI to see if I have a brain tumor is in 2026.
It's not complicated. Schedule them, go in, get the test, move along. They don't want to provide health care. That's all that this is. They're choosing to not do it. They're hoping you're dead so they don't have to waste the money.
It's March 20.
By the way, once you own the MRI machine, how much does it cost to run a scan? The people are already there. You're right there. Just do it.
2025 right now. And if you thought this was bad, it's actually worse than you thought, because the appointment where we decided that I need this MRI was in December of last year. So it's not like it's 10 months from now, it's 13 months. It's a 13-month wait to see if I have a brain tumor. At first, I just thought this was a mistake.
And by the way, I'm not saying that I support Luigi Mangione, but whatever we're doing with medical health care is not okay. It doesn't work. It's madness.
Month wait to see if I have a brain tumor. At first, I just thought this was a mistake because having an MRI every year is like a monitoring timeline. Like I already have an MRI every year for my spine tumor, which is why we think maybe I have a brain tumor too. So I was like, okay, they just made a mistake and scheduled this on a monitoring timeline. But no, I called and the clinic was like, yeah, the doctor actually requested that you have it earlier, but this is the next spot we have. We're seeing about 13 months for these brain and spine MRIs. Cool. Cool. Canada, where healthcare is free, but only if you can afford to wait.
Yeah, can you afford it? Well, can you afford to wait? That's a good way to say it. All right. Well, that concludes my exhibition for today. Thank you to everybody who watched. Thank you to everybody who participated. Thank you to everybody who I will see tomorrow when we do this show. I'll probably try to go a little earlier tomorrow. There have been some changing timelines and scheduling issues, but, I'll plan on being back tomorrow. Maybe 10 a.m.? I don't know. I'll aim for 10, perhaps. Let me take a look at something, see what time I'm aiming for tomorrow. Yeah, 10, 10:30. I'm going to aim at 10, maybe. So tune in tomorrow. Yeah, healthcare is just one of the systems that are crumbling. Patty K from Washington. That's the crazy Seattle state we were just talking about. All the systems are crumbling. And frankly, they sort of need to. So we'll just pause it on that. Everything seems to be crumbling. Well, what do they say? The apocalypse. What is the meaning of apocalypse? The definition. It's like an unveiling, uncovering, or a revelation. It was like a lifting of the veil. So the apocalypse isn't necessarily just everything's going to explode. It's that everything will be revealed. So that's the system we find ourselves in. But hey, we got people like Elon Musk and Trump trying things that haven't been tried in a very long time and trying things that have never been tried before. Let's do better. And let's not go back to all these systems that don't work, that are massive failures. Let's do better. So, no black pill network here. We're going to stay positive. I know there's really no healthcare in Canada. Talk to a lot of people in the U.S. They'll say damn near the same thing, depending on the company they're working with. Yes, the great reveal, the lifting of the veil, the great reveal, the apocalypse. Like the word occult. They're like, oh, a cult. That's like a bunch of bad guys, right? It's a cult. It's like dark. It's like bad. No, occulted just means obscured. To occult is to obscure something. Just like if you're looking at like a eclipse or something, it's occulted by the thing, which is casting the shadow. It's behind the thing. It doesn't mean evil. It just means obscured. So yeah. The government of Canada runs the MAID program. I don't know. How soon before your election? And who's projected to win? I don't know, but maybe we should start talking about it. It's coming up real soon, right, David? Actually, I will look up one more time. Canadian election will be around the 21st. So we got 1 week. 1 week from today. Go out and get Pierre Poilievre. Mark Carney's leading in the polls? No. No. The official opposition, led by Pierre Poilievre since 22, affordability, housing, smaller government, they led the polls until early 25, but have slipped due to Trump's tariffs and annexation threats, which shifted voter focus to Canada-U.S. relations. Oh, that's terrible. No, you don't want the Liberal Party. You want the conservatives in there. Oh, come on, David. Help fix Canada, please. Please fix Canada. All right, I'm going to sign out for now. Thank you to Kenneth and David and Patty and everybody in chat. Appreciate all of your voices. Bella's Chance, everyone, of course. If I forgot your name, I apologize. But I'll be back tomorrow. I'll aim at 10 in the morning. And until next time, I appreciate you. I love you. And we'll talk to you again soon. Take care. Peace.